Chapter 1287. Looking at the phone powder that had already been smashed into pieces on the ground, elder son said anxiously, "Shao. Hero Shao, it's useless to just destroy the phone. As long as you can download that software through a special channel, any smartphone can control the tracker that has been implanted in it." Previously, when Xing Chick went to the Jia clan to spy on Shao Chen, elder son had noticed that she was behaving abnormally during surveillance. He was quite suspicious of her and wanted to use the tracker to summon her back. However, he hesitated and resisted the urge. Damn it. To think that I respected Situ Chitian so much in the past. He's too much. He's actually so vicious to do such a despicable thing to his own disciples. Xing Chick slammed the armrest of her chair and couldn't suppress the anger in her heart. She fiercely cursed. Elder son didn't dare to raise his head and prayed in his heart to curse Situ Chitian to his heart's content. As long as he didn't implicate his anger onto himself. However, Shaochen didn't let him off and continued to interrogate, "Where is the tracker installed? Also, who else in Awakening Heaven's sect has been implanted with this damn thing?" Reporting to Hero Shao, the tracker is installed in the skin behind sect leader Xing's right ear. Almost all of the higher-ups in Awakening Heaven's sect have been implanted with this thing. Elder son felt that Shao Chen's pressure had finally weakened a little and hurriedly replied with lingering fear. Hearing this, Shao Chen frowned and immediately extended his hand to carefully examine the back of Xing Chick's right ear. He discovered that there was indeed a small wound. Furthermore, when he pressed lightly with his hand, he could feel that there was indeed a hard object inside. "How is it? Can you touch it? Are there any scars?" Xing Chick was currently feeling uneasy and didn't pay attention to Shao Chen's actions towards her. Instead, she asked a series of questions. When the other girls heard Xing Chick's question, they couldn't help but feel angry and amused. Shouldn't they be worried about the tracker? Why were they worried about scars instead? Shao Chen didn't answer Xing Chick's question. Instead, he said indifferently, "Xing Chick, I'm going to help you remove the tracker now. Bear with it for a while and it'll be over very quickly." Don't mess around. How about we get elder son to find a professional to do it? What if there's a scar? Xing Chick was instantly shocked. Although she knew that Shao Chen was doing this for her, wasn't this a little too rash? He didn't seem to have done this before. "It's okay. Just relax. Trust me. I'll be fine soon." Shao Chen carefully examined the wound behind little Miss Xing's ear. His comforting words contained a trace of mental energy, quickly calming little Miss Xing's emotions. Xing chilled. Xing chilled chilly. After Xing finished, Xing chilled chilly, leader Xing Star Chen said, "Xing, Chen's Chen, and Xing, Chen, Xing, Qi, Xing, Chen, Xing, Yu, Xing, Yang, Chen, and seeing that the AI chip had been extracted in perfect condition, and that nothing had happened to Sect Master Xing, elder son finally heaved a sigh of relief. He felt as if he had taken a trip to the gates of hell, and had finally seen the light of dawn. "Shao Chen, have you removed the tracking device?" Xing didn't even have time to react when Shao Chen stopped. She only felt a slight pain, and then Shao Chen was done. Xing felt a slight itch on the back of her right ear, as if she had been bitten by a mosquito. She subconsciously reached out to touch it, but she didn't feel any scars. It was a very strange feeling. She didn't expect Shao Chen to be a surgeon. It's done. Take a look, it's this broken thing." Shao Chen cleaned off the blood on the tracking device and stuffed it into Xing's hands. Xing held the tracking device in her hands and looked at it carefully. She discovered that it was just an ordinary-looking chip. It didn't attract any attention at all. The key was that she didn't even know when she had been implanted with this thing. Shao Chen put the fruit knife away and turned to look at Elder Sunday. With a cold face, he asked, "Apart from this tracking device, did Situ Chitian do anything else? If there is, hurry up and tell me. Otherwise, if I find out about it, you won't have a good life." No, there really isn't anything else. Elder Son shook his head with a bitter expression on his face. He now had a kind of fear towards Xiao Chen from the bottom of his heart. It should be known that even his most revered master, Gong Sun Yen, wasn't a match for Xiao Chen. How would he dare to hide any secrets? Oh, all right. Then I'll believe you this once. Since you're willing to confess today, I won't pursue your crime. Xiao Chen waved his hand and said indifferently, there's nothing for you to do here. Get out. Xiao Chen's sixth senses was clear. He could naturally see that Elder Son was speaking the truth. Since Xing was fine now, he couldn't be bothered to pursue this fellow's responsibility. After all of this was instigated by Situ Qitian. Elder Son was at most an errand boy in this matter. If he wanted to settle the score, he had to find that fellow first. Thank you, Hero Xiao. Then I'll take my leave first. Elder Son's heart relaxed, but he didn't dare to show it on his face. He still bowed respectfully, took 2 steps back, turned around, and couldn't wait to escape from the room. Elder Son's awkward posture made it seem as if he wished he had another leg to run as fast as he could. In his panic, he almost bumped into the patrolling guards. Xing Miao didn't pay attention to the fleeing Elder Sunday. Instead, she lowered her head and casually crushed the tracking device in her hand. Xiao Chen, do you want Elder Son to remove the tracking devices from the others? Xing Miao suddenly thought of something and asked with a face full of worry. In the past, I couldn't control how Situ Qitian treated them. But now that I'm the sect master of Awakening Heaven's sect and understand the ins and outs of this secret, I can't just remove the tracking device and ignore the others, right? Oh. Xiao Chen thought for a moment and waved his hand. Let's keep it for now. This thing has its pros and cons. Since it's in your hands now, you can use it. In the future, if someone dares to resist your authority, at least you'll have a way to deal with them. Of course, if there isn't, it's best if you don't touch it. Chapter 1288. Xiao Chen reckoned that he would be entering the world of cultivation soon. Then, the internal martial arts world would be beyond his reach. If Xing was the only one in charge of Awakening Heaven's sect, a lot of problems might arise in a short period of time. Now, with the help of the tracker, at least some of her problems could be solved. Then, he wouldn't have to worry about the internal martial arts world when he was in the world of cultivation. Xing hesitated for a while and finally nodded. Although she couldn't bear to do it, she knew that what Xiao Chen said was reasonable. After all, she had only been the sect leader for a few days. Although some people were respectful to her on the surface, she didn't know what they were thinking in secret. Yes, if anyone is disobedient, Sister Xing, you can use the tracker to control them and make them dance in front of everyone. Jean Bebe was halfway through her sentence when she saw Cheng Menjing staring at her with a dangerous expression. She hurriedly changed her words. Dance with many beer bottles on a tray. We can also put some snacks, desserts, fruits, and so on. In this way, we can eat and watch them dance. Tian Souring nodded continuously and started to fantasize happily. All the girls couldn't help but look at these 2 clowns. Cheng Menjing sighed helplessly. When she was about to say something, Xiao Chen smiled and said, I say, you 2 should be the left and right guardians of Xing. One of you will be responsible for playing tricks on people, and the other will be responsible for eating. No way, no way. Xing looked frightened and shook her head continuously. Everyone's astonished gazes immediately focused on little Chick Xing. Although Xiao Chen was joking, little Chick Xing's reaction was too much. Jean Bebe and Tian Souring were so mischievous. What was wrong with being the left and right protectors? Little Miss Xing's face collapsed. She stammered, the inner Wulin can't be compared to the secular world. There's nothing good to eat here. Later on, with Miss Bebe adding fuel to the fire, Chi Tian's sect will be eaten by them sooner or later. All the girls looked at each other and then at Jean Bebe and Tian Souring, who were wearing innocent and wronged expressions. In the end, Xia Fei could not help but burst into laughter. Her laughter seemed to be contagious and made everybody else laugh. For a moment, the room was filled with laughter. In the following period of time, Xiaochen had nothing to do other than waiting for the people of the ghost cultivation sect to come to him. It was rare that he had a few days of free time. In these few days, on one hand, Xiaochen helped little Lady Xing sort out the affairs of the sect, helping her solidify her position as the sect leader. On the other hand, he spent the rest of his time chatting with the ladies, or locked himself in his room to cultivate. Xiaochen had always felt that although his strength was considered quite awesome in the martial arts world, he did not know what was going on in the world of cultivators. In order to prevent himself from going there in the dark and in case anything happened, he wanted to take advantage of his free time to improve or consolidate his strength as much as possible. 3 days later, West Mountain Giant Bull, the sect leader of the Ghost Cultivation sect, arrived at Qi Tian's sect with more than a dozen elite disciples. At the same time, he also brought several spiritual Qi women and the secret method to open the gate of the world of cultivators. After being led into the gate by the disciples of Qi Tian's sect and settled down, West Mountain Giant Bull found West Mountain Mad Devil and asked him about the situation of Qi Tian's sect. After Mad Demon Shishan recounted the story, Shishan Giant Ox did not feel that there was any big problem. The Awakening Heaven sect had only changed their sect leader, and the new sect leader was a little girl, so he would not take it to heart. As for the expert Jian mentioned by West Mountain Mad Devil, he was directly ignored by West Mountain Giant Bull. When he heard that West Mountain Mad Devil had been beaten up, he was surprised. Now that he thought about it, it was not a big deal. No matter how powerful Jian was, he could not be more powerful than him. The reason was very simple. West Mountain Giant Bull was the only person in the Ghost Cultivation sect who had entered the world of cultivators. Although he did not stay in the world of cultivators for a long time, he had broken through the shackles and his strength had been greatly improved. When he came back, he could almost sweep the entire martial arts world. Moreover, West Mountain Giant Bull had obtained this ability very early. When the former sect leader of Qi Tian's sect, Siddha Haotian, gathered a team to destroy the Ghost Cultivation sect for the first time, he was already able to easily wipe out these small fries. As for later, Siddha Haotian also entered the world of cultivators. When he came back to fight with him again, the two of them could barely fight to a draw. At that time, West Mountain Giant Bull felt a sense of crisis, so he seized the opportunity to cultivate in seclusion day and night, for fear that he would lose his position as the number one in the martial arts world. However, after a period of time, Siddha Haotian disappeared. It was said that he had returned to the world of cultivators and did not appear again for a long time. West Mountain Giant Bull felt that his ability had improved to a higher level. Originally, he had a grudge against Siddha Haotian, who had tied with him at that time. He wanted to fight again to wash away his previous shame. He did not expect that this time, Qi Tian's sect would actually run into the muzzle of the gun. Not only did he beat up his people, but he also wanted to get the method of the sacrifice from the Ghost Cultivation sect and then divide the quota to go to the world of cultivators. After listening to this, West Mountain Giant Bull almost laughed. This Xing Gongzi was really shameless. Did he really think that he was just a decoration? Originally, West Mountain Giant Bull had designed a dirty trick. He wanted to wait for the sacrifice to sneak attack Qi Tian's sect and the cultivators sect and catch them all in one fell swoop. However, he later considered the unpredictable nature of the sacrifice. If something went wrong in the middle, he might even lose his life and be unable to enter the world of cultivators. Therefore, this method was not perfect enough. As the saying goes, in the face of absolute strength, all conspiracies and tricks were futile. West Mountain Giant Bull simply gave up on the idea of playing dirty tricks to deal with Qi Tian's sect, who did not know what was good for them. He planned to go directly to them and let them know the power of the Ghost Cultivation sect. Thinking of this, West Mountain Giant Bull could not care about resting. With a wave of his hand, he directly led West Mountain Mad Devil and his group of subordinates to settle the score with Xing Gongzi and Jian. West Mountain Giant Bull and his group aggressively rushed to Xing Gongzi's room. However, before they could show their strength, they were first stopped by the guards who strictly questioned them. "Stop. Who are you people?" The guard captain standing at the front stared at the group of people in front of him with a face of vigilance. The guy in the lead had triangular eyes and a hooked nose. His eyes were sharp and his expression was gloomy. One look and you could tell that he was not a good person. The guard captain could not help but mutter in his heart, there are really a lot of people looking for sect leader Xing these past few days. The people who came before were all great beauties who were quite pleasing to the eye. In the end, a group of ugly and fierce men actually came today. What kind of business is sect leader Xing doing? Chapter 1289. The leader of the ghost cultivation sect, Shishan Giant Bull, is here. What's wrong with the people of Qi Tian sect? There are no rules at all. Hurry up and ask your leader to come out and greet us. With the support of Shishan Giant Bull, Mad Demon of Shishan was full of confidence. In his opinion, Shishan Giant Bull was already the most powerful existence in the martial arts world. No matter how powerful Ajian was, it was impossible for him to be his leader's opponent. Today, the leader was here to help him vent his anger. Hearing Mad Demon of Shishan insulting their leader, the guards were immediately angry. The guard captain stepped forward and shouted, "You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. How dare you disrespect Leader Xing? Guards!" Ah! The guard captain was about to order his men to arrest Ajian when he suddenly saw an overwhelming black fog coming towards him. The black fog contained a strong aura of death. Without waiting for the guard captain to react, another invisible aura suddenly came out from little Miss Xing's room and met the black mist head-on. The collision of the two auras produced a strong shockwave that pushed him to the side. Shishan Giant Bull was slightly stunned when he saw this. Obviously, he was a little surprised that his black fog was blocked. However, his expression quickly returned to normal. He still had a gloomy face as he stared at Xing's room and said coldly, "It seems that you really have some ability. Don't hide in the room anymore. Come out quickly and let me see your true face." Damn it, what giant bull and giant tortoise. How dare you behave atrociously in Qi Tian sect with such a stupid name. I think your ghost cultivation sect will be destroyed by me sooner or later. Before he arrived, his voice arrived first. Xiao Chen's casual mockery angered the ghost cultivation sect's disciples to the point that their necks turned red. On the other hand, the Shishan giant ox remained unmoved, as if it did not hear anything. Creak. Xiao Chen opened the door and slowly walked out. He first looked at the guard captain who was lying on the ground. Seeing that he was only slightly shaken and was not seriously injured, he ordered, "You guys take him to treat his injuries first. Leave this to me." The group of guards quickly nodded in gratitude, trotted over to support their captain, and quickly walked towards the doctor's room. The Shishan giant bull couldn't be bothered with the guards who were leaving. It stared intently at Xiao Chen and said, "You are Ajian? Who would have thought that he would have such a cultivation at such a young age? It was quite commendable. But it's a pity that no matter how valuable it is, it will fall into my hands today. As for Qi Tian men and that little girl surnamed Xing, I'll take them in as well." Hee hee. The yak let out a shrill and unpleasant laugh that was like the cry of an owl. His expression was rather disdainful. Although his attack had been nullified, he could not feel just how powerful Xiao Chen was. He probably was not very powerful, which was why he was so unperturbed. "Why are you spouting so much nonsense? What a waste of saliva." Xiao Chen glared impatiently, "Since you want to stir up trouble, then I don't need to be polite with you." After saying that, Xiao Chen did not wait for the yak to reply. He immediately condensed 2 thunder balls in his palms and threw them directly at the yak. "It's just a small trick, there's nothing to be afraid of." Although that was what it said, the yak did not dare to be negligent and put on a defensive posture. Looking at the 2 crackling blue balls flying towards him, Shishan Dunyu originally wanted to take the opportunity to dodge, but he was afraid that these things would accidentally hurt the many subordinates behind him. With a thought, he once again released the black fog and wrapped it around his palms, forcibly catching these 2 strange things. Boom! Just at the moment when the yak's hands came into contact with the thunderballs, there was only a loud noise. The yak groaned and suddenly felt a sharp pain in his hands. Immediately afterward, the yak felt as if he had been electrocuted. His whole body twitched involuntarily, and the black fog that originally wrapped around his hands gradually dissipated. TSK, it seems that your strength is not too weak. It was rare for Xiao Chen to see someone who could still stand after receiving 2 of his thunder lightning balls. He praised her with great interest. Then, his tone changed. However, I only used a mere 80% of my strength just now. It was mainly to test your ability to take hits. Next, I'm going to use my real strength. Before he finished speaking, the corners of Xiao Chen's mouth suddenly curled up into a strange arc. In an instant, he revealed the strength of the first level of the profound ascending stage. He took out the repaired flying sword and infused the yuan qi in his body into it. You are. Shishan Giant Yak lowered his head to look at his scorched palm, then raised his head to look at the flying sword floating in front of Xiao Chen. There was a vague sense of familiarity in his heart, as if he had seen this scene before in the distant past. Moreover, that past memory told him that this guy in front of him was extremely dangerous. Everyone, attack. This kid is alone. No matter how powerful he is, he can't deal with so many evil cultivators at the same time. Without waiting for the yak to speak, West Mountain Mad Devil, who was standing next to him, suddenly waved his hand, and rushed towards Xiao Chen with a group of evil cultivators. Shishan Mad Demon was standing very close, so he could already tell that Ajian's attack should have caused Shishan Giant Bull to suffer some minor injuries, but it was probably not a big deal. Therefore, he wanted his subordinates to rush over and hold it off for a while. After his sect leader recovered, they would join forces to deal with Xiao Chen. Wait. You are not his opponent, don't go and die. West Mountain Mad Devil's expression suddenly changed, and he shouted. Just at the moment when West Mountain Mad Devil rushed out, West Mountain Mad Devil's mind flashed, and he suddenly remembered why he felt that Xiao Chen's martial arts skills were familiar. Because he had seen similar skills in the immortal cultivation world. Those people in the immortal cultivation world could not only fly on their swords, but also control the arts of wind, fire, thunder, and lightning at will. Wasn't it exactly the same as Jian in front of him? This Jian must also be from the immortal cultivation world. West Mountain Mad Devil and his group of people attacked him, they must be cannon fodder. Unfortunately, Shishan Niu's reminder was still a step too late. Xiao Chen casually waved his finger and said indifferently, "Little demonin, since these silly evil cultivators have come to you on their own accord, you don't have to be courteous with them. Go ahead and absorb all the evil energy in their bodies. Take it as a gift from me to you." Whoosh! The flying sword seemed to have its own intelligence, and it immediately understood what Xiao Chen meant. In an instant, it shot out like lightning, making a sharp piercing sound, and rushed towards the evil cultivators who were attacking from all directions. Chapter 1290. Although the strength of the heretical cultivators was not as high as that of Shishan Giant Ox, they were obviously not stupid people. They all knew that Xiao Chen was very strong, so they did not dare to face the flying sword head-on. Instead, they quickly dispersed and formed a semicircle, trying to avoid the flying sword's attack. However, what surprised those heretical cultivators was that no matter how they dodged, the flying sword seemed to have eyes on the sword. It could predict their position in advance every time, and then change its direction to sweep towards them. The angle of the flying sword's attack was too tricky. The group of heretical cultivators were forced to be in a hurry, and the distance between them and Xiao Chen was getting farther and farther. Ouch! One of the heretical cultivators hurriedly moved to avoid the flying sword. For a moment, he did not pay attention to the surrounding environment. He accidentally tripped on a stone, suddenly lost his balance, and fell forward. At this time, the flying sword was flying in the opposite direction of him, but as if it had eyes on its back, it suddenly braked in the middle, changed its direction without hesitation, made a 180-degree turn, and pierced into the back of the fallen heretical cultivator. The evil practitioner didn't even have time to scream before his chest was directly pierced by the flying sword. His face was pale and his mouth was open. He fell to the ground powerlessly and didn't move at all. He was as dead as he could be. Everyone, be careful. This sword is strange, don't let it touch you. Shishan Giant Ox had already noticed that something was wrong at this time, and quickly reminded the disciples who were hiding. Shishan Giant Ox found that the flying sword seemed to be getting faster and faster after killing a heretical cultivator, and it was moving more flexibly. Oh, I didn't expect you to have such good eyesight. You can even find such a subtle change. Xiao Chen looked at Shishan Giant Ox with a little surprise, and then his eyes returned to the heretical cultivators who were running away in the courtyard. He muttered to himself, but unfortunately, it's too late. As soon as he said that, a ball of lightning instantly condensed in Xiao Chen's hand. After carefully observing the movements of those evil practitioners, he waved his right hand lightly. The ball of lightning that was flashing with electricity immediately flew out and attacked an evil practitioner who was trying his best to avoid being killed by a flying sword. Ah! The evil cultivator was busy dodging the flying swords, and happened to have his back to Xiao Chen, so he did not notice anything strange. It was only when the electric ball hit him that he realized something was wrong. Other than a scream, there was no way for him to fight back. The flying sword and Xiao Chen worked well together. The moment the evil cultivator lost his ability to move, he rushed forward and killed him with a single slash. Just as the evil cultivator's head fell to the ground, a faint black mist appeared on the body of the flying sword. Then, the black mist gradually changed into the shape of a person. It was as if someone was holding the flying sword in his hand and waving it at the evil cultivators around him. He. I, little demonin, have finally come back to life. The humanoid black mist let out a sinister cackle. As it cackled, it shuttled through the battlefield, killing the evil cultivators one by one. Every time the flying sword stabbed an evil cultivator, the density of the humanoid black fog increased at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was obvious that Xiaoma was using the flying sword to absorb the evil energy in the evil cultivator's body. The more he absorbed, the more agile he became. He was much faster than a normal evil cultivator. Little demonin, stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and kill all those evil cultivators. Xiao Chen shouted in a deep voice. Then, he condensed a fireball in his left hand and a thunderball in his right hand. He kept throwing them at the evil cultivators who were dodging. Yes, master. He. With the help of Xiao Chen, Xiaoma moved like a fish in water. He suddenly sped up and killed all the evil cultivators around him in just a breath's time. The remaining evil cultivators suddenly felt miserable. On one hand, they were busy dodging Xiao Chen's magic attack. On the other hand, they had to be careful of the flying sword slash. It didn't take long for them to be in a mess. Several people were killed by Xiaoma. Damn it, don't panic. Let's join forces to attack the humanoid black fog. He's the weakness of that broken sword. Mad Demon Shishan couldn't stand it any longer. He immediately shouted and revealed the strength of a perfected venerable. His entire body was suffused with a black aura that emitted the smell of rotten corpses. Then, he opened his palms and flew towards Xiaoma. He. Good timing. Xiaoma laughed wildly and kept the flying sword behind him. Not only did he have no intention of dodging, but he also puffed out his chest and faced Mad Demon Shishan's palms. Xiao Chen couldn't understand Xiaoma's actions. However, he knew that Xiaoma would definitely not harm himself, so he just waited and watched. As for Mad Demon Shishan, he was overjoyed. One had to know that his rotten aura was extremely pure. No matter who touched it, it would be completely dissipated. In a flash, Mad Demon Shishan's palms had already reached Xiaoma's chest. What? How is this possible? Mad Demon Shishan's original joy remained on his face, but it turned into horror in an instant. Although Mad Demon Shishan felt that his palms had already reached Xiaoma's chest, it did not cause any harm to this guy. On the contrary, the evil aura in his body was constantly dissipating. It was constantly flowing into Xiaoma's body through his palms. Well. Not bad. Your evil aura is quite pure. It's much stronger than those small fries. I'm having a good time eating it. He 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 he. And Xiaoma said with an intoxicated look, as if he was tasting a delicacy. As more and more evil aura was absorbed by mad demon Shishan, and Xiaoma's figure gradually became more substantial, becoming more and more like a real human. Mad demon. Why aren't you letting go? If this goes on, you'll be sucked dry. Shishan Giant Bull had just eliminated the after-effects of the thunder lightning ball and shouted anxiously. Leader Bull, I can't seem to let go. Mad Demon Shishan also realized the seriousness of the problem at this time. He used all his strength to stop Xiaoma from absorbing his evil aura. However, no matter how hard he tried, his palms were still stuck to Xiaoma's chest. He couldn't retract them at all. Shishan Giant Bull strode closer, but there was nothing he could do when he saw this scene. He couldn't cut off Mad Demon Shishan's arm just to separate them, right? When he was at a loss of what to do, Giant Ox Shishan glanced casually and suddenly found that Xiaoma had hidden the flying sword behind him. He thought of something and immediately waved his palm to slap the flying sword out of thin air. He even threatened fiercely, "It turns out that the broken sword is your weakness. It seems that I have underestimated you. Go to hell." Chapter 1291. He he he. You finally found out. The flying sword was the vessel that Xiaoma used to parasitize. After being discovered by Shishan Giant Bull, Xiaoma naturally did not dare to neglect it. While laughing strangely, his body nimbly broke away from Mad Demon of Shishan, turning into a light smoke and shrinking into the flying sword. Only then did Mad Demon of Shishan Giant Bull get rid of Xiaoma's control. His feet suddenly went soft, and he fell to the ground. He only felt that his body was empty, and there seemed to be not much cultivation left. He couldn't help but look pale and at a loss. Before Shishan Giant Yak's palm wind touched the flying sword, Xiaoma controlled it in the sword and barely dodged his attack. She also circled to the back of the two evil cultivators who thought they were safe and easily killed them one by one. What kind of giant bull is it? What's the point of fighting a sword? Come and play with me. Don't look around there, watch my fist. Xiao Qin sneered, stomped his feet, and used his movement technique. In the blink of an eye, he passed by those evil cultivators, waved his arm, and punched straight at Shishan Giant Bull. Bang! When Shishan Giant Bull suddenly turned around, Xiao Chen's fist was already in front of him. He was shocked and wanted to retreat quickly. As a result, before he could take 2 steps back, he felt a solid punch on his left face. A strong force came, and he was directly sent flying several feet away. Xiao Qin could not be bothered to wait. His figure flashed again, and while the Shishan Yak was still flying in the air and had not landed on the ground, he raised his leg and kicked at its lower abdomen, directly stepping on it. His fists rained down like a storm. Master Ajian. Stop fighting. Ouch. I'm convinced. Immortal Ajian. I really can't stand it, my bones are about to be broken. Shishan Giant Bull did not dare to resist at all, but he covered his wound and wailed like a pig being slaughtered. If those who knew Shishan Dunyu saw this scene, their jaws would probably drop in shock. The dignified sect leader of the Ghost Cultivation sect was rolling on the ground, passively dodging Xiao Chen's punches and kicks. The arrogance that he had when he came to provoke Shishan Dunyu had disappeared. Xiao Chen stopped and dusted off the dust on his palm. Then, he grabbed the collar of the Shishan Giant Bull and said coldly, "To tell you the truth, my name is Xiao Chen. As for the name Ajian, I just came up with it randomly." Xiao. Hero Xiao Chen, no. Exalted Immortal Xiao. I had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai and accidentally offended you. I'm really sorry. Please be magnanimous and let me go. Shishan Giant Yak's face was swollen, and its tone was extremely flattering and humble. Xiao Chen loosened his grip and threw the Shishan Giant Bull back to the ground. Then, he stood up and said condescendingly, since you've already admitted defeat, I'll spare your life today. However, I still have something to ask you. You'd better answer honestly. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Shao Chen originally did not intend to beat the Shishan giant bull to death. After all, it was the sect leader of the ghost cultivation sect and had mastered the secret method of sacrifice. He had to first understand how the sacrifice in the world of cultivators was carried out. Shao. Exalted immortal Shao, if you have any questions, just ask. I'll tell you everything I know. I definitely won't lie to you. The Shishan giant bull did not dare to be negligent. It crawled up and did not even dare to brush off the dust on its clothes. It bowed and said cautiously. It had to be convinced. It had only seen the methods that Shao Chen used in the world of cultivators. This meant that even if Shao Chen was not a mighty figure from the other side, he was still a super expert with the strength of a cultivator. Although it could not figure out his cultivation for the time being, according to its experience in the world of cultivators, this Shao Chen was at least an expert in the foundation establishment stage. If it fought him head-on, wouldn't it be courting death? Not far away, the West Mountain Mad Demon, who had just struggled to get up, turned his head and saw this scene. He was instantly dumbfounded. What the hell is going on? Why is the sect leader standing in front of Shao Chen humbly? Looking around blankly, the West Mountain Mad Demon found that in just a moment, the elites of the ghost cultivation sect had been killed. Moreover, they were killed by an inexplicable flying sword that did not look like a flying sword or a human. The West Mountain Mad Demon turned his head again and looked at the Shishan giant bull, who had a humble expression on his face. Originally, he thought that after the sect leader came over, the ghost cultivation sect would be able to take charge of everything. He never expected that in less than an hour, this would happen. This made the West Mountain Mad Demon panic and feel at a loss. At this time, the West Mountain Mad Demon's emotions were extremely complicated. Shao Chen did not stay idle on the other side. He asked directly, I heard that your ghost cultivation sect has captured a woman named Lu Shuangshuang, right? Did you also capture other people in the Wulin and Tianfang province? Where are they locked up now? You mean those few women with spiritual qi? They are here. In order to prepare for the sacrifice, they have all been brought to the open heaven gate. The West Mountain Mad Demon was slightly stunned. It did not expect that Shao Chen would ask this question at the beginning. After the West Mountain Mad Demon said this, Shao Chen waited for a while and found that it did not respond again. He could not help but raise his eyebrows and said, Then what are you waiting for? Oh. If Immortal Shao is interested in them, then I will ask someone to bring them all here. The West Mountain Mad Demon was still waiting for Shao Chen's next question. He was shocked when he heard this, as if he had just woken up from a dream. The West Mountain Mad Demon thought that Shao Chen had taken a fancy to Lu Shuangshuang and the other women. He quickly glared at the West Mountain Mad Demon not far away and shouted, Mad Demon, why are you standing there in a daze? Hurry up and bring those girls over to Immortal Shao. Okay, I'll do it now. Only then did the West Mountain Mad Demon come to his senses. He did not care about dealing with the disciples of the ghost cultivation sect who had been killed by Xiaoma. He immediately turned around and ran in the direction where he came from. You know what to do. Shao Chen nodded with satisfaction and asked, While he is going to pick them up, I can ask you another question. How is the sacrifice in the cultivation world going to be carried out? What are the steps? The method of sacrifice is recorded in the ancient books of the ghost cultivation sect. Because there are many things written in it, I can't explain it clearly. The expression on the West Mountain Mad Demon's face was a little frightened, and he stammered. As the leader of the ghost cultivation sect, you can't even explain the ancient books of your sect clearly? Who are you kidding? Do you want to loosen your muscles and bones? Shao Chen sneered and said sarcastically. No, Immortal Shao, you don't know. The words in the ancient books are relatively obscure. I'm afraid that I will accidentally explain it wrong. The West Mountain Mad Demon shivered in fear and quickly explained, How about this? I also brought the ancient book this time. I will go and get it for you. You can have a look yourself. Chapter 1292. Xiao Chen saw that the bull's expression did not seem to be fake. He pondered for a moment, then waved his hand and said, "You don't have to take it now. When we have a meeting with the immortal cultivation sects tomorrow, you can take out the ancient book and study it. See if you can verify it with the immortal cultivation sects and fill in the gaps." Thinking of the hypocritical and pretentious old guys of the immortal cultivation sects, the bull secretly curled its lips to express its disdain. Although the strength of that group of people was not bad, none of them could reach his level. How could they have the nerve to come here and get a piece of the pie? Although the bull's movement was very slight, Xiao Chen still noticed it. He was too lazy to speak up for the immortal cultivation sects, so he continued to ask, "Your strength is higher than Sitahoutian's. You must have been to the immortal cultivation sects, right?" The bull was still immersed in its contempt for the immortal cultivation sects. Hearing this, it replied casually, "I have been there." Halfway through its sentence, the Shishan colossal bull realized that it had let the cat out of the bag. It immediately stopped talking, its face turning pale. However, on second thought, Xiao Chen was originally from the world of cultivators. It was not a big deal for him to know. "Since you have been there, why don't you tell me how much you know about the situation in the immortal cultivation sects?" Xiao Chen asked with a smile. The bull was a little stunned. Xiao Chen asked this question. Didn't he come from the immortal cultivation sects? Could it be that he was the illegitimate child of a big family? Ahem. No matter how sharp Xiao Chen was, he did not know that the bull's imagination had gone too far. Seeing that the bull hesitated and did not speak, Xiao Chen cleared his throat impatiently. The bull shivered and quickly withdrew its thoughts. It replied in fear and trepidation, Actually, I don't know much about the immortal cultivation sects. I only know that there are two big families in the town I just entered. The cultivation level of the people inside is relatively high. I don't know much about other things." "Oh. Two big families?" Xiao Chen asked with interest, "Then how did you get in? Didn't you use the sacrificial method to get in?" Reporting to exalted immortal Xiao, "I indeed did not use that method to enter." Shishan Giant Ox honestly explained, "I once obtained a command medallion that was passed down from the previous sect master of our ghost cultivation sect. I also found the ancient book that opened the door to the cultivation world. Then, I followed the instructions in the ancient book and used the command medallion to pass through the teleportation formation to enter the cultivation world." Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows slightly and didn't say anything. Presumably, this token should be a one-time use. Otherwise, Shishan Giant Bull wouldn't have racked its brains to think of a sacrificial ritual to re-enter the world of cultivation. Sure enough, the Shishan Colossal Ox shook its head and continued, "Unfortunately, this token is a one-time use. It can no longer be used after it comes out. Since you've already gone in, why did you come out?" Xiao Chen asked curiously, "Won't I be able to improve my strength faster and become more awesome if I stay in there?" The Shishan Giant Ox had a bitter expression as it explained helplessly, "I also want to stay inside and not come out. But the immortal cultivators inside are too strong, just as strong as you, exalted immortal Xiao. I'm no match for them at all. So, after entering the world of cultivation, I was always trembling with fear. Later, I finally gained a little, so I immediately set off to return." Shishan Giant Ox recalled that when it first entered the world of cultivation, it was only an expert with the strength of a venerable. There were many experts in the world of cultivation. Magical martial arts and profound mental cultivation methods could be seen everywhere. Those people didn't care about a weak chicken like it at all. Not many people were willing to pay attention to it. In the end, Shishan Giant Ox endured the pain and spent some spiritual jades as the price to exchange for some advanced cultivation resources. It successfully cultivated to a higher realm, and at the same time, inquired about some information. One had to know that the world of cultivation was rich in spiritual energy and resources. Although there were many experts, it was very suitable for cultivators to make breakthroughs. After Shishan Giant Ox returned to the inner martial arts world, its strength was outstanding and it swept away all the major sections. Its mind became active, and it thought about bringing the people of the sect to the world of cultivation as well to train them well. However, the token had lost its effectiveness and could not be used. Shishan Giant Ox then followed another method in the ancient book and sent his subordinates to find women with spiritual energy to prepare for sacrifices. Some of the middle and high-level disciples in the ghost cultivation sect basically knew about this situation, but they coincidentally concealed it from the people outside the sect. The reason was also very simple. Because of their own cultivation methods, the evil cultivators had always been in a situation where they were looked down upon and hated by others. Therefore, they gathered together and wanted to use the world of cultivation, which was a treasure land, to greatly improve their strength, and then return with glory to find a way to unify the inner martial arts world. What a waste! What a waste of that token! The information it brought back is of no use at all. Xiao Chen glared at Shishan Giant Ox angrily. He raised his fist and was about to teach him a lesson again, but he heard a little movement in the distance. Xiao Chen glanced at it from the corner of his eyes. It turned out that Mad Demon of Shishan was back, followed by a few girls, and the one in the lead was Lu Shuangshuang, whom he had not seen for a long time. Shishan Giant Ox was originally ready to be beaten again. After waiting for a while, there was no movement. He looked up and found that Xiao Chen was slowly putting down his fist. He could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. He turned his head and looked in the direction of Xiao Chen's gaze. Only then did he understand the reason. Shishan Giant Ox secretly thought that he was lucky. Fortunately, Mad Demon of Shishan came in time. Otherwise, he would have inevitably experienced the tragic experience just now again. Looking at Xiao Chen's youthful and energetic face, the Shishan Giant Bull was very puzzled. This guy is so powerful, but he seems to know nothing about the cultivation world. Could it be that he really didn't come from there? Is he really going to play a drama of illegitimate son looking for his father or mother? Xiao Chen. Is it really you? Am I seeing things? Shishan Giant Ox was thinking, and suddenly there was an excited exclamation from a distance. However, the exclamation was not made by Lu Shuangshuang. Lu Shuangshuang's mouth opened slightly, but before she could say anything, a figure flashed by. A woman suddenly passed her and rushed towards Xiao Chen. Yi Xiaoya. When Xiao Chen saw the figure, he was stunned for a moment. Before he had time to react, he was hugged by Yi Xiaoya. Boo-hoo. You scared me to death. How can you make such a joke with me? Why did you let those evil cultivators come to the Devil Star sect to catch me? If you want to see me, can't you just call me? You stinking bad guy. Yi Xiaoya's whole body was in Xiao Chen's arms, and she did not forget to wave her small fists and hit him hard a few times. Obviously, she had some misunderstandings about him. Chapter 1293. Yi Xiaoya was originally cultivating in the Devil Star sect, but one day, she was inexplicably captured by a heretic cultivator without any warning. She was even locked up in a dark and terrifying place for a long time. No one spoke to her, and her heart was filled with panic and fear. After being transported to the open heavenly gate, before Yi Xiaoya could familiarize herself with the environment, West Mountain Mad Demon brought them out together. She thought they were going to the execution ground to wait for the final verdict. Just as she was feeling uneasy and letting her imagination run wild, Yi Xiaoya suddenly saw Xiao Chen, like a drowning person grabbing onto the last life-saving straw. She subconsciously thought that it was Xiao Chen who had ordered those heretic cultivators to do this. With a creak, the door of the courtyard behind Xiao Chen suddenly opened. Xing, Song Huawu, Hong Zhu, and the other girls came out in a line and looked in the direction of Xiao Chen. When West Mountain Mad Demon came to provoke them, Xiao Chen had warned the girls before he went out, so for safety reasons, they had been staying in the room and not coming out. Later, Qing Menjing used her divine sense to observe that Xiao Chen had already finished the battle and was interrogating West Mountain Mad Demon, so she told the girls. They were chattering about Xiao Chen's strength when they suddenly heard Yi Xiaoya's voice. Out of curiosity, the girls swarmed out, wanting to see what was going on. However, other than Xiao Chen, the few spirit chi girls that West Mountain Mad Demon brought with him were too nervous and did not immediately notice the girl's existence. Lu Shuangshuang was already unhappy that her lines were stolen. Seeing that Xiao Chen was still tightly hugged by the little beauty, her expression became a little ugly, and she slowly walked forward with a pout. "Ah. So you were the one who asked those people to do it? But why did you do it? If you wanted to see me, why didn't you come to Tianfang province? I thought I was kidnapped by some terrorists." Another woman followed behind Lu Shuangshuang and pouted her lips as she complained. Xiao Chen felt that this voice was both strange and familiar. He turned around and was immediately stunned. That person was actually Lan Xinxin. At this moment, Xiao Chen felt like his head was about to explode. Previously, he thought that other than Wang Fantian, there was no one else he was familiar with in Tianfang province. In the end, he neglected Lan Xinxin, this strange girl. Could she also be a spirit chi woman? Why were all the women with spiritual energy people he knew? Song Huawu could tell that Xiao Chen had been misunderstood by them. She knew Lan Xinxin and knew that this girl was a little insensitive. She wanted to help Xiao Chen explain the current situation. "You misunderstood. It's not what you think." What's going on?" "Xiao Chen, explain it clearly." Before Song Huawu could finish, Lu Shuangshuang jumped up and interrupted her. She originally thought that she had nothing to do with these two beauties. When they were locked up, she didn't say much. She didn't expect that all three of them knew Xiao Chen. Lu Shuangshuang, who was originally a little jealous, was now only left with confusion. She couldn't figure out the situation at all. At first, Lu Shuangshuang also thought that she had been captured by a very evil person and might be sent to be experimented on or something. She even had nightmares at night. But when she saw Xiao Chen appear in front of her, coupled with Yi Xiaoye and Lan Xinxin's reactions, she quickly began to suspect that all of this was secretly done by Xiao Chen. Moreover, Lu Shuangshuang suddenly remembered that when she was captured, she wasn't violated at all. If it were an ordinary robber, how could he not make a move on these three beauties? If it weren't for Xiao Chen, this sneaky guy, how could others think of such a stupid idea? Shuangshuang. Shuangshuang, are you okay? When you were captured by the evil cultivator, I was worried to death. Sob, sob, sob. Kerlin, who was standing at the back, suddenly cried out in alarm. She quickly ran over and held Lu Shuangshuang's hand. The two of them were reunited after a long time. Kerlin couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Tears flowed uncontrollably from her eyes. "Kuer? I'm fine. Don't cry. Why are you here? Say, what is this place?" Lu Shuangshuang asked in surprise. She wasn't as fragile as Kerlin. Although she was shocked and surprised to see Kerlin and Xiao Chen at the same time, she still wanted to figure out the reason first. Otherwise, this scene would be too much like a dream. "Three cute little sisters, don't be anxious. Let big sister tell you the details." Xia Fei smiled sweetly. She stepped forward and pulled Lan Xinxin and the other girls to the side. Hong Zhu gave Xiao Chen a sidelong glance and also followed. The two girls had the clearest thoughts among the group. Their words were also the clearest. They quickly explained the reason why the evil cultivator had kidnapped them and how Xiao Chen had rescued them. Xiao Chen shrugged helplessly. If Xia Fei and Hong Zhu weren't present, he would have to spend a lot of effort to explain the whole situation. After all, the process was too long. Turning his head, Xiao Chen saw that giant ox of the West Mountain was still foolishly standing to the side. However, he was slightly better than Elder Sunday. He knew to lower his eyes and not look at the girls. "You, giant ox, you can go back now." Xiao Chen waved his hand and lightly ordered, "Remember to go to the conference room at 8:00 tomorrow morning. At that time, I will also call the people of the Immortal Cultivation Sect. We will have a meeting to discuss how to cooperate and use the safest and smoothest way to enter the Immortal Cultivation world. Remember to be punctual." Since Lu Shuangshuang and the other girls were safe and sound, Xiao Chen planned to let Giant Ox of the West Mountain go for the time being. In any case, he had already surrendered. He still needed to open the ghost cultivation sect sacrificial ceremony. There was no need to kill him immediately. Okay, no problem. I will definitely not be late. Don't worry, Immortal Xiao. Giant Ox of the West Mountain nodded quickly. He didn't dare to stay any longer. He quickly called Mad Devil of the West Mountain to quickly deal with the corpses of the ghost cultivation sect disciples on the ground. Then, the two of them bowed to Xiao Chen and left in a hurry. Just after Giant Ox of the West Mountain and the others left, Xia Fei and Hong Zhu finally explained the ins and outs of the matter. After Lu Shuangshuang and the other girls understood the whole story, they suddenly realized that they had misunderstood Xiao Chen. They didn't expect that those evil cultivators really had an ulterior motive for taking them away. Lu Shuangshuang, Yi Xiaoya, and Lan Xinxin were a little embarrassed for misunderstanding Xiao Chen. Lan Xinxin was the first to apologize. Yi Xiaoya also readily admitted her mistake. Although Lu Shuangshuang was a little awkward, seeing that the two girls had apologized, she didn't want to appear to be a maverick, so she hesitated and apologized. Chapter 1294. Xiao Chen waved his hand. He didn't take such a small thing to heart. He just felt that these girls were really broad-minded. Their lives were obviously at stake, but they still had the time to consider whether they were deceived by him. Women's thoughts were really unusual. By the way, Xiao Chen, how's the problem with your place? Can it be solved? Now you have so many girlfriends. What if it can't be used at a critical moment? Lan Xinxin suddenly patted her forehead and asked with concern. Lan Xinxin just remembered that she had broken Xiao Chen's little brother before. Although she had taken Xiao Chen to the hospital for a checkup, she was still a little worried. Thank you for your concern. I'll tell you solemnly again. I'm fine. You really don't have to feel too guilty. Xiao Chen replied with a wry smile. He thought that Lan Xinxin's memory was too good. It had been so long, but she could still remember it. Really? I still don't believe it. I heard that it's difficult to recover from being crushed. How did you do it? Lan Xinxin held her chin and asked suspiciously. Although Lan Xinxin's voice was not loud, all the women present heard it clearly. Their gazes immediately focused on them. Some were curious, some were puzzled, and some were secretly thinking that these two people were too unrestrained. Wasn't it just exercising? How could they be so intense that they broke that place? Xiao Chen opened his mouth and found that Lan Xinxin's question was really difficult to answer. He was speechless. He couldn't just say that he was a cultivator and could heal no matter how serious the injury was, right? That would be too shocking. With Lan Xinxin's character of getting to the bottom of things, she must see it with her own eyes to believe it. Xiao Chen, don't be embarrassed. Since I have promised to take care of you for a lifetime, I naturally won't break my promise. Lan Xinxin tilted her head and thought for a while. Suddenly, she snapped her fingers and smiled mysteriously. How about this? Let me check it myself and make sure that there's really no problem. Then I can rest assured. No. No need. I'm really fine. The women's gazes made Xiao Chen feel uneasy. He quickly refused and shook his head like a rattle. I say, you're a man. Why are you so shy? You see, I don't care about this. Lan Xinxin curled her lips and blinked with interest. She glanced at a certain part of Xiao Chen's body with an eager look on her face. Hee, little sister Xinxin, I originally thought that I was already bold and unrestrained enough. I didn't expect you to be even better than me, wanting to take off Xiao Chen's pants in broad daylight. I really admire you from the bottom of my heart. Xia Fei covered her mouth and laughed, not forgetting to tease her. Xiao Chen was sweating profusely. He said helplessly, Consort Xia, stop causing trouble. It's not what you think it is, Xia, Chen said, T, and said, T Xiao Chen say. R, Xiao, T, and Xiao. How come I've never heard you mention it before? Don't you think you should introduce them? The one who spoke was Yi Xiaoya. At this moment, she was obviously a little jealous. Although she didn't object to Xiao Chen having multiple wives and concubines, she had just reunited with Xiao Chen after a long time and saw so many outstanding beauties surrounding him. Moreover, whether it was in terms of temperament or appearance, they were all top-notch, rich and beautiful. Therefore, she couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable and even faintly feel a sense of crisis. Well, let's go into the room and talk. It's weird to stand under the sun with so many people. Xiao Chen squeezed out a smile and said with difficulty. He then led the way to Xing girl's room. Xiao Chen also didn't expect that the girls who were related to him would actually gather together at the same time by a freak combination of factors. Needless to say, the scene of so many beautiful girls standing together was simply too pleasing to the eye, too spectacular. The girls were naturally aware of Xiao Chen's awkwardness, but since Xiao Chen didn't point it out, they naturally wouldn't point it out. After all, they were going to be good sisters in the future. There was no need to fall out with each other just because of the competition for his favor. Jean Bebe followed the girls and pulled Xing Menjing's arm. She said to her in a low voice, Cousin Menjing, Bebe has a bad feeling. It seems that Yi Xiaoya and my cousin-in-law are already in a relationship beyond friendship. I'm afraid you won't be his first wife anymore. Bebe, what are you talking about? I don't want to be Xiao Chen's first wife at all. Whoever wants it can go. Humph. Xing Menjing rolled her eyes proudly, but she still looked at Xiao Chen's direction subconsciously, feeling somewhat anxious. Was she really not as good as other people? Ow, ow, ow. I thought that after you became the first wife, Bebe would also be able to bask in the glory and enjoy life, commanding these beautiful girls to work for me. Now, it seems that it is impossible. Jean Bebe pouted and mumbled gloomily, her face full of disappointment. That's enough of you. Go and daydream. Xing Menjing poked Jean Bebe's head angrily and did not bother to talk to her anymore. The girl's head was full of nonsense. She'd better not talk to her anymore, in case she got sick because of her anger. After he returned to his room, Xiao Chen had no time to take a rest. It took him more than 2 hours to describe his experience after he left the Xiao family. Because the story was too complicated and bizarre, a few simple-minded girls could not help but feel amazed after they heard it. Some of them, on the other hand, were secretly thinking that they had to seize the time and further develop their relationship with Xiao Chen as soon as possible. Otherwise, with so many beautiful girls around Xiao Chen in the future, it was possible that their position would be replaced by someone else. While the girls were making their own plans, Xiao Chen did not think too much about it. He felt that now that he had successfully rescued Lu Shuangshuang and the other girls, what he needed to do next was to enter the world of immortality as soon as possible to search for and rescue his father, Xiao Feng, as well as Xing Menjing's uncle and Tang Tang's parents. Xiao Chen recalled that the bull had also mentioned that there were as many experts in the world of immortality as there were clouds in the sky. His capability might be on par with those inside. Therefore, he estimated that it would be extremely dangerous. It seemed that he had to keep a low profile after he entered the world of immortality and avoid head-on clashes with the strong cultivators. Otherwise, he would be at a disadvantage. The next morning, Xiao Chen came to the meeting room with Miss Xing, together with Gong Sun Yen. The three of them sat down and waited for Song Weizong and the bull to come for the meeting. Chapter 1295. Last night, Xiao Chen wanted to improve his strength with the help of dual cultivation. He thought that there was strength in numbers. He did not expect that after one night of cultivation, the girls who accompanied him in dual cultivation had all leveled up. However, there was no sign of a breakthrough at all. He could not help but feel a little annoyed. The Immortal Cultivation World's sacrificial ceremony was just around the corner. Xiao Chen really wanted to increase his strength before entering the Immortal Cultivation World, so that he would have a better ability to protect himself. Unfortunately, the method of dual cultivation was not very effective for him. Xiao Chen also wanted to use the natural treasures he had obtained in the venerable realm to level up. Unfortunately, he did not have much time left. Moreover, the natural treasures that he had collected were of extremely high quality or mutated. Even the Elder Heaven Ancestor did not know how to use them. In order to avoid creating a for odd beasts, Xiao Chen had no choice but to give up this option. It seemed that he could only take it one step at a time from now on. Hello, exalted immortal Xiao. You're so early. I didn't expect that I would still be a little later than you. Shishan Giant Bull pushed the door open and smiled at Xiao Chen. In fact, in order to leave a good impression on Xiao Chen, Shishan Giant Bull had deliberately left the house 30 minutes earlier. He did not expect that Xiao Chen would arrive earlier than him. In the end, he did not manage to flatter Xiao Chen. Song Weizong followed behind Shishan Giant Bull into the meeting room and smiled at Xiao Chen. Ah Jian, my young friend, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. When he was behind Shishan Giant Bull, he heard this guy call him exalted immortal Xiao. He was a little puzzled. He thought that there were other people in the meeting room today. However, after entering, Song Weizong looked around the room and did not see any strangers. He could not help but wonder who this Shishan Giant Bull was calling just now. Wait, today's meeting is attended by important people. Unrelated people are not allowed to enter. Ridiculous. I, Song Qingshu, am the third-generation heir of the dignified Song family. Why can't you let me in? Tisk, Song Qingshu, who do you think you are? Even I, Mad Demon, can only stay outside and not enter, let alone a little bastard like you. You. Xiao Chen was about to preside over the meeting when a loud noise suddenly came from outside the door. Everyone looked at each other. It seemed that Song Qingshu also wanted to come in and participate in the meeting, but he was unexpectedly stopped by the guards and was also ridiculed by Mad Demon of West Mountain. Xiao Chen's expression didn't change. Shishan Niu looked askance at Song Weizong and clicked its tongue. Song Weizong's expression didn't look good. Just as he was about to stand up and go out to see the situation, the door of the conference room was suddenly pushed open. Song Qingshu walked in angrily, followed by an anxious and angry guard. Song Qingshu pushed the guard aside and scanned everyone present. When she saw Xiao Chen, she suddenly paused, pointed at him, and yelled, "Xiao Chen! You actually dared to let the guards stop me outside the door. Do you not put our cultivation sex in your eyes at all? This is simply going too far. What's going on? Isn't there a sign outside that says no trespassers and dogs are allowed in? Are you illiterate? Why did you come in? When did you have the right to participate in such a high-end meeting?" Xiao Chen was not angered at all. He leaned back in his chair and crossed his legs on the table as he spoke calmly. "That's right. I say, old ghost Song, how do you usually teach the younger generation of the family? He has no manners at all and actually dares to openly oppose immortal Xiao. I think that kid is tired of living. Since your family's rules are not strict, why don't I help you discipline him?" Shishan Niu also grinned, revealing a mouth full of yellow teeth, and sneered at Song Weizong. Song Weizong ignored Shishan Niu's provocation and turned around. He glared at Song Qingshu and said angrily, "Qingshu, did you take the wrong medicine? Why did you come in so early in the morning? Hurry up and get out." Grandpa, don't be fooled by that kid Xiao Chen. He is the Xiao Chen that I mentioned to you before. Moreover, he doesn't have any strength at all. He only knows some evil magic and clings to the thigh of Qi Tian sect. He's just using their background to intimidate others. Song Qingshu was also anxious as he pointed at Xiao Chen and shouted. He really didn't understand why his grandpa was so respectful to Xiao Chen. He was clearly a scumbag. Song Weizong was shocked when he heard this. He didn't expect Jian and Xiao Chen to be the same person. Why didn't Song Qingshu make things clear earlier? This was big trouble. Damn it. How dare you speak so arrogantly? Shishan Niu's face darkened when he saw the Song family talking among themselves and ignoring him. He felt that his dignity had been insulted. Shishan Giant Yak's body immediately emitted a black aura. It turned to Xiao Chen and said respectfully, "Exalted immortal Xiao, since the Song family's brat doesn't know how to appreciate favors and is actually disrespectful to you, please allow me to help you teach this junior a lesson. I'll let him know the price of disrespecting his elders." Shishan Nyo. Do you dare to try? Seeing that Shishan Nyo was ready to attack, Song Weizong didn't dare to be negligent. His body shook and he quickly revealed the cultivation of the venerable peak, staring at him seriously. Although Song Weizong didn't understand why Shishan Nyo was standing up for Xiao Chen, Song Qingshu was the future star of his family. No matter what mistakes he made, he should be punished by his family. He couldn't let Shishan Nyo succeed. "All right, all of you stop for a while." Xiao Chen waved his hand and stopped them impatiently. "I don't have time to argue with a moron. Don't shout about fighting and killing so easily. Sit down and get ready for the meeting. This is the real business today." Shishan Nyo immediately put away the black aura, turned to bow to Xiao Chen, and said respectfully, "Immortal Xiao is really magnanimous. You are so kind and tolerant to ignorant juniors. I admit my defeat." Xiao Chen snorted and ignored him. He turned to Song Qingshu and said, "Song Qingshu, are you going to walk out by yourself, or do you want me to send you out like last time?" If it weren't for Song Huawu, Xiao Chen wouldn't have been so polite to Song Qingshu. It wouldn't have mattered if Shishan Nyo had taught him a lesson. However, this guy was still his brother-in-law after all. He was also Song Huawu's biological brother, so there was no need to make their relationship so stiff. "Ah. Xiao Chen, my little friend, please give me some face and let me take him out. I will definitely teach him a good lesson and not let him make such a rash mistake again." Song Weizong's expression changed slightly, and he pleaded before Song Qingshu could. Chapter 1296. Although Song Weizong did not know what method Xiao Chen was going to use, Song Qingshu had finally made up his mind to apologize to him. In the end, he came back angrily and smashed cups and bowls. It must not be a comfortable way. Song Weizong saw Xiao Chen nod slightly, so he immediately pulled Song Qingshu out and walked out. Song Weizong pulled Song Qingshu out of the conference room and scolded him. He ordered him to wait outside the door and not to leave. Then, he suppressed his anger, took a deep breath, turned around, and walked into the conference room. He did not forget to close the door on his way out. Song Qingshu and West Mountain Mad Devil stared at each other outside the meeting room. After a long time, they both snorted and turned their heads to ignore each other. "Okay, let's start the meeting." After Song Weizong sat down, Xiao Chen knocked on the table and said in a deep voice, "The content of today's meeting is actually very simple. You two sects will first tell us the method and steps to open the gate to the world of immortal. Then we will discuss it and design a reasonable and safe plan. Then we will implement it together. Is there any problem?" Song Weizong and West Mountain Mad Bull shook their heads in unison, indicating that they had no objection. Anyway, they had been mentally prepared, so they were not surprised. Xiao Chen nodded in satisfaction. Then, he said, "You can start speaking now. Who will go first?" "I will go first." Song Weizong and West Mountain Mad Bull shouted in unison. They looked at each other and saw the hatred in each other's eyes. Both sides wanted to speak first, but in the end, the decision was handed to Xiao Chen. After all, he was the strongest among the people present and could be regarded as the leader of the organization to enter the world of immortal. While Xiao Chen was thinking about who should speak first, West Mountain Mad Bull had an idea. He took out a tattered book and quickly flipped through it. He did not forget to add, "Immortal Xiao, don't listen to old devil Song's nonsense. He doesn't know how to open the gate to the world of immortal at all. This ancient book of mine has been handed down from ancient times. It clearly records the details. Ridiculous. How could I not know?" Song Weizong didn't want to be outdone. While Shishan Giant Bull was busy flipping through the book, Song Weizong quickly said, the ceremony in the cultivation world is actually very simple. You just need to gather some women with spiritual chi, then make a simple teleportation array, and then use the spiritual chi in these women to open the teleportation door to the cultivation world. In the past few days, Song Weizong stayed in the Awakening Heaven Gate and had nothing else to do. He had been reading the scrolls left behind by the immortal cultivation sects, so he knew the method to open the immortal cultivation world like the back of his hand. Unfortunately, because the ancient book had been placed for too long, many details were missing, but the main part was still complete. Old Ghost Song, don't talk nonsense. Sacrificial offerings are nothing simple. Shishan Giant Bull's eyes widened. He pointed to a page in the ancient book and said, Immortal Shao, it is clearly written here that when a woman uses spiritual chi to open the portal to the world of cultivation, it is very likely to trigger a heavenly tribulation. Heavenly tribulation? What heavenly tribulation? You're not just spouting nonsense, are you? Song Weizong asked in surprise. Then, he took out the scroll from his arms and carefully looked at the relevant records. However, several of the words were already blurred, and he couldn't see the content of heavenly tribulation at all. Of course, what I said is true. Shishan Giant Bull snorted and explained in a reasonable manner, the power of heavenly tribulation is very great. If there is a little carelessness, those women with spiritual chi will die because of it, so we still have to be more careful. Shishan Giant Bull, explain the part about heavenly tribulation in detail. What kind of heavenly tribulation is it, and what kind of power will it cause? Xiao Chen's expression sank slightly, and he frowned and asked. Originally, Xiao Chen was already quite unwilling to let Lu Shuangshuang and the others take the risk. If by any chance this sacrificial ritual would put their lives in danger, then he would definitely not agree to use this method. At worst, he would just find another way. About that. Shishan Giant Bull's mouth twitched violently, and he stuttered for a long time but couldn't say anything. It wasn't that he didn't want to say it, but in the ancient book he had, the part about the detailed explanation of heavenly tribulation had long been damaged. He could no longer distinguish any text, so he couldn't sell it even if he wanted to. I have this. Song Weizong was overjoyed. He immediately flipped the scroll to a certain page, and read the words on it. It's like this. During the opening of the portal to the world of immortals, there may be all kinds of weather changes. Those women with spiritual chi will need to resist the wind, rain, and even hail and lightning. This must be the heavenly tribulation. Are you serious? Old Ghost Song, are you purposely making things up just to say a few more sentences? Shishan Giant Bull had a suspicious look on his face. Isn't it just wind and rain? At most, there will be some hail. How can there be any danger? And it will even cause the death of the women with spiritual chi? I don't believe it. Your ghost cultivation sect has been hiding in a dark corner for a long time, so of course you wouldn't know about these things. Song Weizong snorted coldly, and revealed a proud look on his face. He then turned to Xiao Chen and asked, I wonder if my friend Xiao Chen has been to the honored mysterious realm? Seeing that Xiao Chen nodded, Song Weizong began to speak frankly with assurance. The heavenly tribulation is similar to the 5 elements tribulation in the honored mysterious realm. Although it is only a change in the weather, it is very powerful. Therefore, when the time comes, the more women with spiritual chi participate in the sacrificial ceremony, the better. In this way, the burden on each woman will be lighter. After finishing speaking, Song Weizong felt that he had regained some ground. He was very happy as he stroked his beard. Although there was no detailed information about the heavenly tribulation in his scroll, it happened to record the tribulation that the women with spiritual chi would encounter. This kind of tribulation was similar to the 5 elements tribulation, but its power was several times stronger than the 5 elements tribulation. Oh. 5 elements tribulation? Xiao Chen's heart moved. If it was the 5 elements tribulation, could he help to resist it? If he could also help, it should be foolproof. In order to verify his thoughts, Xiao Chen confirmed with Song Weizong again. Then, when the time comes, as long as we work together to resist the heavenly tribulation, we can successfully open the portal to the cultivation world, right? Yes, yes, yes. After the heavenly tribulation is over, the portal will open automatically. At that time, we can enter the cultivation world. Song Weizong nodded repeatedly. Xiao Qin continued to ask, in that case, apart from the women with spiritual qi who participate in the sacrificial ceremony, if other people want to help share the damage caused by the heavenly tribulation, is it possible? Chapter 1297. Song Weizong did not expect that Xiao Qin would suddenly ask such a question. He could not help but be stunned. He immediately lowered his head to look at the information in the scroll. After looking for a long time, he still said with a depressed face, this. As for whether outsiders can bear it together, there is no record in the scroll. I think, what do you think? Of course, you can let others bear it together. Otherwise, those girls, if any of the girls with spiritual qi is not strong enough, they will definitely die. Shishan Giant Bull immediately retorted. Fearing that Xiao Qin would not believe it, Shishan Giant Bull handed the ancient book to Xiao Qin respectfully and pointed out the part related to this paragraph to him. The reason why Shishan Giant Bull did this was naturally because he had another reason. He guessed that Xiao Qin must have taken a fancy to Lu Shuangshuang and the other girls. Yesterday, Xiao Qin was so anxious to bring them over. After that, they must have been very intimate. At this time, Xiao Qin certainly did not want them to die in the sacrificial ceremony. He wanted to keep all of them as his wives. Otherwise, why would he be willing to take the initiative to take the risk and bear the heavens test? Well, if the records in this ancient book are correct, then things will be much easier. Xiao Qin did not care about Shishan Giant Bull's little plan. Instead, he lowered his head and looked at the ancient book. Although many of the single pages were damaged, at least he could understand most of the content about the heavens test. According to the ancient book, the heavens test was randomly generated. Every time a sacrificial ceremony was carried out, only one type of heavens test would be generated. There would not be all types of heavens test. This also gave Xiao Qin a little more confidence. At this moment, Song Weizong looked at Shishan Giant Bull and then looked at Xiao Qin. He was a little puzzled. He wondered why Shishan Giant Bull suddenly became so respectful to Xiao Qin. Could it be that they had reached some kind of conspiracy? Thinking of how Shishan Mad Devil was beaten so badly by Xiao Qin before, Shishan Giant Bull should be looking for him to settle the score. Now, it had become such a lackey. It was obviously a little unreasonable. However, Song Weizong could not think of a reason for the two sides to cooperate in such a short period of time. He could only shake his head slightly and temporarily suppress this idea. After reading the ancient books of the Ghost Cultivation sect, Xiao Qin roughly understood the ins and outs. Presumably, the records passed down by the Immortal Cultivation sect and the Ghost Cultivation sect were incomplete, so the method of offering sacrifices was somewhat vague. Fortunately, the two sides could complement each other and perfect the whole process. Otherwise, he would still be in the dark and not know many details. After returning the ancient book to the Shishan Giant Bull, Xiao Qin knocked on the table and asked, "How are the preparations for the sacrificial ritual going? Are there any heavenly materials and earthly treasures that the Awakening Heavens sect needs to provide? After all, our three parties are in a cooperative relationship. I can't just take advantage of you and do nothing, right? Little friend Xiao Qin, you don't have to worry about this. Our Immortal Cultivation sect is almost ready." Song Weizong waved his hand and said with a smile, "It's just that, we're still missing a few things. We've been looking for those things for many years, but we haven't found any trace of them, including the 100-year-old Ian vine, the evil orchid tree root." Every time Song Weizong reported a material, he would look at the Shishan Giant Bull. Both of them knew very well that these things were very suitable for the cultivation of evil cultivators because they were full of Yin Qi. Therefore, they were controlled by the Ghost Cultivation sect all year round and were extremely rare on the market. Hee hee. Old Ghost Song, originally, I wouldn't have taken out these treasures so easily. The Shishan Giant Bull cackled and said slowly, "But for the sake of immortal Xiao, I'm willing to provide them for free this time. After all, what Immortal Xiao said just now was what I was thinking. This time, it's a three-way cooperation. We can't be too selfish. In fact, the Shishan giant bull looked very generous on the surface. In fact, he had already collected most of the treasures of heaven and earth. He just lacked some materials that only the immortal cultivation sect had. Therefore, when he heard what Song Weizong said, he simply pushed the boat with the current and made himself look very generous. Humph. Song Weizong snorted coldly. He picked up the cup on the table and took a sip of tea. He was too lazy to care about the Shishan giant bull's smug face. Very good. Since there are no problems with the sacrificial method and materials, then next, let's discuss the allocation of people to enter the immortal cultivation world. Seeing that there was really nothing that he needed to do, Xiaochen didn't say anything more. He nodded and moved on to the next topic. The Shishan giant bull and Song Weizong immediately focused their attention. The number of people entering the immortal cultivation world was the most important thing in this meeting. Therefore, they didn't want to be distracted for even a moment. Xiaochen looked down at the last few pages of the ancient book. He pointed at a line of words and said, "This ancient book records that every time the portal to the immortal cultivation world is opened, at most 20 to 30 people can enter. I believe that's the number on sect leader Song's scroll, right?" After Song Weizong confirmed it, Xiaochen looked at the two of them and asked with a smile, "So, how many people are you going to send in this time?" Xiaochen had just learned from the ancient book that although the opening of the immortal cultivation world required a woman with extremely high spiritual qi, there was no level limit for entering the immortal cultivation world. Even ordinary people without any cultivation could enter. After reading this, Xiaochen really understood why Gongsun Yan had sent Situ Qitian to capture people everywhere to do experiments. He didn't even let the ordinary cultivators of the outer martial arts world and the secular world go. It was because he wanted to mass-produce biohumans and then send them to the immortal cultivation world to investigate the situation. That. Exalted Immortal Xiao, we have a lot of people in the ghost cultivation sect. There may be more than 10 places. Do you think it's convenient for us to go in first? The giant bull smiled and hurriedly added, "We can go in first. We can also help you explore the way. If there's any danger, we can also inform you in advance." From the giant bull's point of view, as long as the people he arranged could enter, the rest of the places could be divided between the immortal cultivation sect and Xiaochen. There was nothing for him to do. How can we do that? Without waiting for Xiaochen to speak, Song Weizong immediately rejected the Shishan giant bull's suggestion. He said coldly, "When the time comes, your ghost cultivation sect will be able to enter without any trouble, leaving only our immortal cultivation sect and little friend Xiaochen. Each side will only be able to send a few people in. Wouldn't that be a great loss for us?" "I definitely don't agree." Song Weizong was not stupid. The immortal cultivation sect and the ghost cultivation sect had been fighting for so many years. Even if they sat together and prepared to enter the immortal cultivation world together now, they would still be enemies after entering. Since that was the case, Song Weizong naturally wanted to fight for a few more places for the immortal cultivation sect. He didn't want to be suppressed by the people of the ghost cultivation sect after entering. "Damn, I'm discussing with Exalted Immortal Xiao. What does it have to do with you? What do you want to do by jumping around so happily?" The giant bull was a little embarrassed after being rejected. He slammed the table heavily and glared at Song Weizong. Chapter 1298. Why does it have nothing to do with me? This sacrificial ceremony is a collaboration between 3 parties. Apart from my little friend Xiaochen, the opinions of the immortal cultivation sects are also very important. We also need more than a dozen places. Song Weizong did not back down and expressed his opinion loudly. Shishan giant bull stood up and stared at Song Weizong with an evil smile. "More than a dozen places? You really dare to say that? You immortal cultivation sects are all a bunch of trash. It's useless even if you go in. You might as well give up the places and give them to Immortal Zhao's people." At this point, Shishan Giant Bull did not forget to turn to Xiao Chen and squeeze out a smile. Am I right, immortal Xiao? Right my ass. Song Weizong could not stand Shishan Giant Bull's flattery. He could not help but scold angrily. We immortal cultivation sects have more spiritual women than you ghost cultivation sects. Why do you want to reduce our places? As for you ghost cultivation sects, what's the use of so many people going in? After you gain strength, you will still come back to harm the internal martial arts world. F***CKU. If it weren't for your immortal cultivation sects provoking us every time, we ghost cultivation sects would not even bother to compete with you. Do you really think I like to fight with you, old fart? You dare to scold me? Shishan Giant Bull, I think you are tired of living today. Cut the crap. Strength is everything. Let's just fight. Whoever wins will be able to obtain more spots. Good. I have long been annoyed by you, old fart. You are always putting on airs and putting on a sanctimonious appearance. No matter how I look at you, you are asking for a beating. Today, it's either you die or I live. Let's see who is stronger. As soon as he finished speaking, Shishan Niu immediately circulated his mental cultivation method, and Song Weizong also stood up abruptly. His entire body shook as he revealed his cultivation. The two of them glared at each other angrily, looking as though they were ready to draw their swords. The atmosphere in the conference room suddenly became somewhat heavy, and a fight could break out at any moment. All right. You are all hundreds of years old. Why are you more hot-tempered than me? Hurry up and sit down. Xiao Chen waved his hand impatiently. He couldn't be bothered to look at the two of them. When Shishan Giant Ox and Song Weizong heard Xiao Chen's words, they slightly retracted their auras. However, they still stared at each other cross-eyed. Neither of them moved, and neither of them was willing to take the lead to sit down. What's wrong? My words don't work, do they? Do you want me to treat you guys again? Xiao Chen glared at them and released a pressure that was as dense as a mountain, sweeping toward the two of them. Xiao Chen was really speechless at these two old fellows who were fighting with each other. If it weren't for the fact that these two people were still useful, he would have already slapped them one by one and sent them both flying. Feeling Xiao Chen's anger, Shishan Niu and Song Weizong trembled slightly and obediently sat down on their chairs. They did not dare to openly make an enemy out of Xiao Chen. After all, his strength was too heaven-defying. Moreover, the two of them were not really going to fight. They were just using this kind of hostile attitude to express how much importance their sex placed on the quota this time. After all, no one knew how many people could enter the array that was opened by the priest. The range of the number recorded in the ancient books was also very different. Everyone wanted to fight for as many spots as possible for their own sections. That was why they joined forces and put on a posture of fighting for every inch of land. How about this? Xiao Chen knocked on the ancient book in front of him and said indifferently, since the ancient book mentioned that 20 to 30 people can enter, then let's count it as 30 people. The Awakening Sect, the Immortal Cultivation Sect, and the Ghost Cultivation Sect, the three sects will cooperate and distribute the quota equally. Each sect will have 10 spots. Isn't that enough? What's the point of arguing here and there? Exalted Immortal Xiao, I think, equal distribution is a bit unreliable. Shishan Niu said with a bitter face, although the ancient book recorded that it is correct, what if only 20 people can enter? At that time, wouldn't the last sect to enter suffer a great loss? Indeed, Anne. Song Weizong frowned and hesitated for a moment. He still looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Forgive me for being presumptuous, little friend Xiao Chen. In this immortal cultivation world sacrificial ceremony, Awakening Sect did not make any contribution. If they just get 10 spots, it seems a bit. Anyway, I don't think this distribution method is very reasonable." Shishan Niu also felt that what Song Weizong said was very right. To put it bluntly, Awakening Sect only had Xiao Chen who was relatively strong, so they could forcefully gather all of them together. They could also use this opportunity to divide up a few spots. However, if they wanted to evenly distribute the number of people with the ghost cultivation sect and the immortal cultivation sect, it was indeed a bit unreasonable. However, Shishan Nyo only agreed in his heart and did not say anything on the surface. He was not willing to risk offending Xiao Chen and go along with old ghost song, so he chose to wait and see. Who told you that awakening sect has no contribution? Xiao Chen squinted at Song Weizong and said calmly, I also have a few spiritual energy women around me. They can participate in the sacrificial ceremony and greatly increase the success rate. Shouldn't such a great contribution be counted as awakening sect's account? This. Song Weizong was stunned. He was immediately choked and speechless. Although he didn't know where Xiao Chen's so-called spiritual chi woman came from, if he really did have the goods, then the three sects could really share it equally. After all, what Xiao Chen said was reasonable. If the sacrificial ceremony failed because there were not enough spiritual energy women, then what was the point of talking about the distribution of spots? Not a single person could get in. Shishan Nyo, who originally planned to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight, immediately had his face collapse. He couldn't help but complain in his heart. He subconsciously thought that Xiao Chen regarded Lu Shuangshuang and the other women as the spiritual energy women of awakening sect. In this way, it was reasonable to use these women to help awakening sect get a few more spots. Shishan Nyo couldn't speak of his bitterness. He wanted to slap himself. This was all his own sin. Okay, don't talk about this and that. Each sect will get 10 spots. This matter is settled. Xiao Chen slapped the table and made a conclusion. Then, he gently pushed the ancient book on the table, stood up and said, Go back now and finalize the list of people to enter the world of cultivation. I will review it later. Shishan Nyo still wanted to say something, but Xiao Chen didn't give him a chance to speak. He directly waved his hand and said, All the topics have been settled. There is nothing else. Today's meeting is adjourned. After that, Xiao Chen didn't wait for Shishan Nyo and Song Weizong to express their opinions. He directly left the meeting room with Xing Nyo and Gong Sun Yen. Xiao Chen was too lazy to argue with the two of them. Anyway, he had already decided on the matter. If the two of them were still not satisfied, then let them fight among themselves. Chapter 1299. Looking at Xiao Chen's departing figure, Shishan Nyo and Song Weizong's expressions were extremely helpless. The two of them looked at each other and could see the unwillingness in each other's eyes, but there was nothing they could do about Xiao Chen. Although Shishan Giant Ox and Song Weizong also wanted to snatch the places from each other's hands, according to their many years of experience, it would definitely end in vain in the end, so they didn't want to make a meaningless and futile attempt. They could only sigh and leave the conference room one after another. They all wanted to go back as soon as possible to gather people, screen them, and then determine the disciples to enter the cultivation world, lest Xiao Chen changed his mind again. After Shishan Giant Ox went back, he was worried. Although their ghost cultivation sect had a large number of people, and this time he deliberately brought all the elite disciples who were selected to enter the cultivation world, as a result, when he went to settle accounts with Xiao Chen, they were all killed by the strange flying sword, so there was a huge gap. In desperation, the giant bull of Shishan and the mad demon of Shishan discussed for a long time. They even asked the mad demon of Shishan to issue a recruitment order. They spent a lot of effort to gather all the evil cultivators in the outer martial arts world and the secular world, just to find a few good evil cultivators to enter the world of immortal cultivation when selecting people. As for the number of people in the immortal cultivation sect, there were not so many. After Song Weizong went back, he called Hong Dingwei family patriarch Hong and discussed it. They also chose to gather the cultivators of other small sections. After gathering them together, they would choose the best talents and entrust them with important tasks. After Xiao Chen returned, he also found the women and discussed the candidates to enter the cultivation world. Elder Sun and Gong Sun Yen listened on the side. Originally, the women planned to go with him, but when they learned that there were only 10 places, they had no choice but to give up the idea and began to discuss who would accompany Xiao Chen to enter the cultivation world. Xiao Chen glanced at the girls. Although most of their eyes were filled with anticipation, Xiaochen couldn't bear to bring them to take risks when he thought of the dangerous environment in the immortal cultivation world where experts were as common as clouds. After thinking for a while, Xiaochen couldn't make a decision, so he simply changed the topic. He looked at Ling Qinxue and asked, "By the way, Qinxue, you and Ling already know that you are a spiritual energy woman, right?" Ling Qinxue nodded obediently and replied, "Sister Hongzhu has already told us that Sister Ling, Sister Tang Tang, and I are all women with spiritual qi, so we can also participate in the sacrificial ceremony in the cultivation world. When the time comes, I'll need all three of you to participate in the ceremony. But don't worry, I'll be there the entire time. I can definitely guarantee your safety," Xiaochen said with a smile. It turned out that when Xiaochen mentioned in the meeting that he was also a woman with spiritual qi, he didn't count Lu Shuangshuang and the other girls as his own as the giant bull of West Mountain thought. Instead, he really had Ling Qinxue, and Tang Tang. Although Xiaochen didn't know why these three people had spiritual qi in them, but Tian Suruan, Jin Bebe, and the others didn't, Hongzhu told him with certainty that he was not mistaken. When Xiaochen found out that the danger brought about by the sacrificial ceremony was the heavenly tribulation, he thought of letting the three of them participate in the sacrificial ceremony as well. After all, he would be there to protect them, so nothing would go wrong. Moreover, the ancient books also said that the more spiritual energy women participated in the ceremony, the greater the chance of activating the magic formation, and the less damage the heavens test would cause. In that case, why not put all the people who could be of use in it? Tang Tang, Ling and Ling Qinxue naturally had no objection. They all agreed. Before, Xiaochen had already told them about the ceremony, so they were not worried or afraid. Instead, they felt happy that they could help Xiaochen. As for the candidates to enter the world of cultivators, Xiaochen had almost thought it over. He said, "So far, only the eldest lady and Tang Tang are relatively strong, and they can protect themselves after entering the world of cultivators. They don't need me to take care of them too much. As for the others, they might still be a little weak. Xiaochen, if I participate in the ceremony, will it be inconvenient for me to enter the world of cultivators?" Tang Tang asked with some concern, "What if I activate the magic formation and run into trouble?" "Don't worry, Tang Tang." Hongzhu chuckled delightfully and waved her hands. The immortal cultivators have studied it. As long as the magic formation is activated, the spiritual energy women will be able to move freely. They don't have to stay in the ceremony all the time. It won't be a problem even if they want to enter the world of cultivators. It was not until then that Tang Tang put on a relieved smile. Xiaochen was about to say something when his arm was suddenly grabbed. "Ouch, Cousin Xiaochen, I've just met you and Cousin Menjing. Are we going to be separated again?" Jin Bebe shook Xiaochen's arm in frustration. Qing Menjing did not expect that Jin Bebe would run away from her when she was not paying attention. She hurried to shout, "Bebe, come back. Xiaochen certainly has his own plans. You are too weak to go in. You'd better stay outside." Jin Bebe did not listen to Qing Menjing and go back. Instead, she rolled her eyes and said with a sneaky smile, "Cousin-in-law, why don't you take me with you for dual training? In such a way, I will be able to break into the Venerable very soon. Won't I be able to enter the world of immortal cultivators with you?" "Bebe. Stop it." Qing Menjing shook her head. Her tone turned solemn. "In order to break into the Venerable realm, you have to train in seclusion in the Venerable realm. But do we have that much time right now? Besides, you are a girl. How can you take off your clothes? Anyway, you can't." Although Qing Menjing was a bit reluctant to leave, her main purpose right now was to find her second uncle, Qing Zhongqian, in the world of immortal cultivators. Therefore, she could only say goodbye to Jin Bebe for now. Also, no matter what, Qing Menjing did not want Jin Bebe to participate in the dual training. Although Bebe often expressed her affection for Xiaochen, Qing Menjing did not want her to fall deeper and deeper into the relationship. Qing Menjing was not being selfish. She did not want Jean Bebe and Xiao Chen to be together. It was just that no matter how she thought about it, she felt very awkward. That feeling was too strange. Jean Bebe was Xiao Chen's sister-in-law. How could she be with her cousin-in-law? Cousin Menjing, I'm going to criticize you. You've tasted the sweetness yourself, and yet you are not willing to let me live a happy sex life, too. Bebe is very disappointed with your way of doing things. Jean Bebe did not know what Qing Menjing was thinking. She could only pout and mumble. You. Qing Menjing was rendered speechless. She simply rolled her eyes at Jean Bebe. Since she could not win an argument, she might as well ignore her in case she fell into another trap. Chapter 1300. Xiao Chen shook his head helplessly. In order not to deepen the misunderstanding between Qing Menjing and Jean Bebe, he could only pat Jean Bebe's head softly and comfort her. Bebe, just listen to your cousin and wait for us outside. As soon as we find my father and Uncle Cheng, we will come back for you immediately. By then, I will take you to a delicious feast. How does that sound? Oh. All right then. Don't lie to me, cousin-in-law. Don't make Sister Jingxian and me wait for too long. Now that Xiao Chen had put it that way, Jean Bebe had no choice but to nod her head reluctantly. Shen Jingxian had complicated feelings at this moment, too. She wanted to show that she was strong and independent, but she was sad that she was going to be separated from Xiao Chen again. Hearing that she was mentioned in Jean Bebe's words, she could not help but feel a bit moist. However, she still tried to control her emotions and did not let her tears flow out. Rest assured. I'm a man of my words. Xiao Chen smiled at Jean Bebe. The moment he turned around, he found that Shen Jingxian was not quite right either. Therefore, he extended his hands and hugged her tightly, before he gave her a determined look. Right, Xiao Chen, I did the math for you just now, Miss Xing suddenly said. Since Hong Zhu and consort Xia were brought here by the immortal cultivators, they should be counted in the quota. In such a case, only 3 of us are going, including you. What are we going to do with the rest of the quota? Well, about that. Xiao Chen was deep in thought again. There were still 7 quotas to go. It was not like he could send those who were not strong enough to make up the number, could he? That would be too much of a loss. How about I go in and give you a hand, too? Miss Xing thought for a moment and added, I am an expert of the venerable realm after all. I certainly won't cause you any trouble. You don't have to go. The Open Heavens sect is still waiting for you to take care of. Before Xiao Chen finished, Elder Sun suddenly thought of something and interrupted him. That's right. That's right. Hero Xiao, isn't the Awakening Heavens sect still in a cooperative state with the 3 great clans? Since there are so many spots to enter the immortal cultivation world, can't we give one to the Awakening Heavens sect and the 3 major clans? Why are you asking so many questions? What does it have to do with you? Do you really want to get a share of the immortal cultivation world with your pathetic strength? Xiao Chen glanced at him coldly and asked straightforwardly, or could it be that you've already made an agreement with the 3 great clans in private to help them arrange for their people to enter as well and then gain some benefits from it? This. Elder Sun couldn't help but shiver. He stuttered for a long time but couldn't say anything. Although Xiao Chen's guess wasn't wrong, it wasn't far off. Originally, the cooperation between the Awakening Heavens sect and the 3 major clans included an agreement to send the people of the 3 major clans into the immortal cultivation world. Elder Sun was worried that he wouldn't be able to arrange people to enter. Now that there were 7 more spots, he thought of putting a few people from the 3 major clans in. However, looking at Xiao Chen's attitude, it seemed that it would be difficult for him to do so. Hero Xiao, don't blame me for talking too much. There are so many empty spots for no reason. Even if we don't use them, the people of the Immortal Cultivation Sect and the Ghost Cultivation Sect will definitely not let go of this big fat piece of meat. Gong Sun Yen cautiously persuaded, rather than letting them take advantage of it, we might as well use it as a favor and give it to the 3 major clans. Wouldn't this also further promote the friendship between the Awakening Heavens sect and the three major clans? Xiao Chen pondered for a moment and finally nodded slightly. That's right. Gong Sun Yan, don't you want to enter the immortal cultivation world? Then you should also go in with me. Is it really possible? Gong Sun Yan's face was full of joy. He was so excited that he was almost incoherent. Entering the immortal cultivation world had always been his dream. From the beginning when he tried to find out who was behind Xiao Chen, to the later bio-human project, all these were his efforts to enter the immortal cultivation world. Gong Sun Yan originally thought that after he repeatedly tried to kill Xiao Chen would definitely not allow him to enter the immortal cultivation world. He didn't expect that his wish would actually come true. What steam or boil? If I tell you to go in, then go in. What's the point of saying so much? Xiao Chen glared at him and added, as for the remaining spots, let the three major clans first make a list and then send it to me for review. When the time comes, just wait for me to pick a few that are pleasing to my eyes. When the time comes, just go in with me. Many thanks, Hero Xiao. Then little son and I will not disturb you anymore. We will immediately issue a summon order to the three major clans and send the list to you as soon as possible. Gong Sun Yan managed to suppress his excitement. He bowed to Xiao Chen respectfully and left with elder son at a brisk pace. Xiao Chen, I still think you should bring more masters with you. Otherwise, it will be too dangerous. After Gong Sun Yan closed the door and left, Lan Xinxin suggested, why don't I call my brother and ask him to accompany you to the immortal cultivation world to find Uncle Xiao? Although he is not very smart, he has been very strong since he was a child. If you are in trouble, he can more or less help. Lan Xinxin grew up in the palm of Xiao Chen's hand, so she didn't know much about the martial arts world. In her mind, Wang Fantian was already a very powerful existence. Presumably, he could compete with the people in the immortal cultivation world. On the other hand, she was also thinking about Xiao Chen. She didn't want anything bad to happen to Xiao Chen in the immortal cultivation world. Thank you, Xinxin, but there is no need. The immortal cultivation world is actually not that dangerous. Moreover, Miss Xiao and Tang Tang are not weak. We can deal with any unexpected situation. Xiao Chen smiled and shook his head, declining Lan Xinxin's proposal. After thinking about it just now, Xiao Chen had already secretly decided that he would not let anyone else who was related to him get involved in this. This was to prevent him from making an irreversible mistake after entering the immortal cultivation world because of a moment of carelessness. Originally, Xiao Chen didn't even want to bring Qing Menjing and Tang Tang with him. He only planned to go in alone. However, the two women were very determined. It seemed that they would break up if he didn't bring them with him. So, Xiao Chen had no choice but to agree. Speaking of Wang Fantian, although he had brute force, his cultivation was still too low. He was not even comparable to the cultivators in the martial arts world. Compared to the cultivators in the immortal cultivation world, he was not worth mentioning at all. If something happened to him in there, Xiao Chen would definitely feel guilty for the rest of his life. In addition, Xiao Chen had another plan. If the Jia family chose Jia Muzan and wanted him to enter the immortal cultivation world, he had to decisively cancel Jia Muzan's quota. After all, as his friend, Xiao Chen had to consider more. In the future, Wang Fantian would be the master of the Jia family and take care of the affairs of the Jia family. There was no need for him to take the risk of going to a dangerous and unpredictable place with him. Chapter 1301. As for who the other two families would choose, Xiao Chen did not care. Instead, he secretly hoped that they would report the names of Yu Dongsheng and Tang Qianling, so that it would be convenient for him to kill these two fools in the world of immortal cultivators. If these two unstable factors were eliminated in advance, Jia Muzan would definitely be able to avoid a lot of trouble in the future. After Gong Sun Yan and Elder Sun returned, they respectively called the Jia family, the Tang family, and the Yu family, telling them that they could start to gather people and prepare to enter the world of immortal cultivators to explore. After receiving the order, the family heads of the three families immediately became nervous. One after another, they summoned their trusted subordinates to discuss or held a family meeting. The family heads of the Tang family and the Yu family had just returned from the transmitting array in the west of the venerable secret realm. When they received the news, they unanimously thought that Qi Tian's sect's plan to summon everyone to enter the world of immortal cultivators was very unreliable. After all, they had fully participated in Situ Qitian's cyborg plan. They had also watched Situ Qitian and those cyborgs enter the world of immortal cultivators and even smashed the transmitting array. Since then, there had been no news of Situ Qitian and no one knew whether he was dead or alive. Although the family heads of the Tang family and the Yu family were very interested in entering the world of immortal cultivators, they did not have much hope in the uncertain future and unknown risks. The Jia family received the news from Jia Jinyan. When Jia Muzan returned from the transmitting array, he reported everything that had happened in the venerable secret realm, as well as the collusion between Jia Yutian and Jia Yuto with Qi Tian's sect and the use of cyborgs to open the transmitting array. Although the family head was deeply disappointed with Jia Yuto and Jia Tuyao, he did not punish them out of reluctance to part with them. He just took back all the power in their hands and then left them alone. At this time, Jia Muzan was basically in charge of the Jia family. After Jia Jinyan received the summon order from Qi Tian's sect, he called Jia Muzan over and discussed it carefully with him. The two of them shared the same opinion as the other two clans. They were completely unprepared for this trip to the world of cultivators, and it was hard to predict whether they would be lucky or not. It was really not suitable for them to take the risk. It was better to find someone else to make up the numbers. However, Jia Jinyan and Jia Muzan had discussed this candidate for a long time. Jia Jinyan originally wanted to let Jia Renzhong participate, but Jia Muzan felt that there were too few people around him who could help. If Jia Renzhong left, he would be too busy, so he was unwilling to let him go. However, if he let Jia Tsugui and the others participate, then they would obviously be cannon fodder, and it would be too disrespectful to the gathering order. Just when the two of them were in a dilemma, Jia Yuto heard a rumor from somewhere and suddenly came to their door, claiming that he was willing to let his son, Jia Tiao, sign up for the world of cultivation as a punishment and reflection for their wrongdoings. Although Jia Yuto spoke with certainty, and looked as if he was willing to die for the family, Jia Jinyan was old and shrewd, and had long seen through his little thoughts. After Jia Muzan handled the family affairs, he also began to get the hang of it. After thinking for a while, he understood Jia Yuto's purpose. After Jia Jinyan made Jia Yuto and his son a mere figurehead, the two of them had no right to speak in the Jia family. No matter what they said, no one would listen to them, and they had no power. Their situation was even worse than Jia Muzan's before. For Jia Yuto and his son, who used to be held in the clouds, this was more painful than killing them. Therefore, after they heard the news, they decided to stake everything on one throw, and send Jia Tuyao to the world of cultivators to try his luck. If this kid really survived the disaster and became powerful, then when he returned with glory, wouldn't he be able to trample all the people of the Jia family under his feet? Although Jia Jinyan and Jia Muzan were well aware of Jia Yuto's plan, they didn't expose him. Anyway, it was indeed difficult to decide on the candidate. Jia Tiao's strength was much higher than Jia Quinchu's. Even if he was sent to the Qi Tian sect, it wouldn't be too shabby. Moreover, Jia Muzan also thought that Jia Yuto and his son were sinister, and keeping Jia Tuyao alive would be a disaster. It was better to leave Jia Tuyao in the world of cultivators and let him run his own course. As for Jia Yuto, he couldn't cause any trouble if he was left here alone. Jia Jinyan was a little reluctant in his heart. After all, no matter how evil Jia Tuyao was, he was his grandson. However, Jia Yuto looked determined, and Jia Muzan didn't object, so Jia Jinyan didn't ask him to stay. In the end, he reluctantly agreed to Jia Yuto's proposal. The situation of the Tang family was completely different from that of the Jia family. Tang Qianling didn't have much interest in the world of cultivators, and he was not stupid. He didn't want to risk his life in the world of cultivators, so the candidate was still vacant. Tang Qianling and the family head of the Tang family discussed for a while and came up with a bad idea. They simply pretended to hold a family meeting and fair election. In the end, they voted to let Tang Tang, an outsider, go to the world of cultivators. In their eyes, Tang Tang was just an outsider. If she died, then so be it. The Tang family wouldn't suffer any loss. Moreover, since Tang Tang wanted to go, Xiaochen would definitely go with her. If Tang Tang was lucky enough to come back alive, the Tang family might be able to get some useful information from her. As for Tang Tang's absence during the meeting, originally, the meeting was attended by the core members of the family. How could she attend? She only needed to obey the order. The Jia family and the Tang family had decided on their candidates one after another. On the contrary, the Yu family was in a state of indecision. After all, the Yu family was relatively weak, and they had very few experts. Although they were very eager to get the strength of the world of cultivators, the family head of the Yu family and Yu Dongxing didn't want to lose their lives in vain, so they didn't want to go. After picking and choosing from the list of the family's disciples, the family head of the Yu family and Yu Dongxing couldn't find a suitable candidate to enter the world of cultivators. For a moment, they fell into a very contradictory situation. In the Yu family's meeting room, there were only 3 people sitting at the big round table. It looked very empty. "Grandfather, I think, why don't we not send anyone?" Yu Dongxing, who was sitting on the left, muttered to himself, "We still know nothing about the world of cultivators. We haven't found anything yet. If we just go in rashly, it'll be too dangerous. Besides, our Yu family doesn't have many experts to begin with. There's really no need for us to blindly get involved." "You're right." The family head of the Yu family sat on the main seat. His eyes emitted a shrewd light. "But as far as I know, the other 2 families in Awakening Heaven's sect have already chosen people to enter when the time comes. If our Yu family pretends to know nothing about it or acts as if nothing happened, I'm afraid it won't be very appropriate." Chapter 1302. Family head Yu had lived for a long time, so he had naturally become a shrewd person. He was afraid that the cultivation world was not as scary as they thought it was. If the other sects took advantage of the cultivation world and nurtured many experts, then the Yu family's status would plummet. "Father, I understand what you mean, but we really can't find a suitable candidate." Yu Manchuan, Yu Dongxing's father, frowned and objected. "Besides, even if we go, it'll be useless. We haven't heard from Situ Qitian yet. I'm guessing he's long dead in the cultivation world. It's better for us to wait and see." Yu Manchuan had always been conservative, so he was not interested in risky things. He was also unwilling to waste the family's talents on this kind of unprofitable business. Sigh. Clan Master Yu sighed heavily and said hatefully, "Although our Yu clan does not have as many people and disciples as the other sects, we are still one of the 3 great clans of the inner martial arts world. Our reputation is definitely resounding. How could it be that we can't even find a single useful talent?" Overwhelmed with emotions, Old Master Yu unconsciously took out a cigarette from the box on the table and put it in his mouth. Just as he was about to light the cigarette with his lighter, he thought for a moment and put it down. With the unlit cigarette in his mouth, he closed his eyes and fell into a state of deep thought. Yu Manchuan was slightly stunned. He hesitated for a moment, but still picked up the lighter and lit the cigarette for family head Yu. He naturally knew that smoking was not good for cultivators, but his father did not smoke much. He would only smoke when he was anxious. Now was the time when family head Yu was most troubled. "Actually, I do have someone I can use." Yu Dongxing rolled his eyes and suddenly had an idea. A figure appeared in his mind. He immediately changed the topic and said, "But that guy is not a direct descendant of our Yu clan. He is not even a cultivator of the inner martial arts world. He's not from the Yu family, nor is he from the martial world. How can I use him?" "Dongxing, you're too much." Yu Manchuan's face darkened, and he scolded softly. He even glared at Yu Dongxing. "Can't you see that your grandfather is worried? You're still talking nonsense." "Dad, let me finish." Yu Dongxing waved his hand and continued, "I heard that he has some ability. Although he is not from the inner martial arts world, he is still somewhat related to our Yu clan. Oh. Dongsheng, where did this man come from? Was he reliable? Would they do anything to harm the Yu clan? The Yu family head's eyes widened, and he puffed out a ring of smoke. He quickly extinguished the cigarette in his hand, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. In theory, it's not very possible, because he is the successor of the Yu clan in the secular world. Yu Dongsheng replied, sneaking a glance at old Master Yu, afraid that the moment he heard that they were from the secular world, he would show dissatisfaction and opposition, and then directly reject them. The bloodline connection between the Yu clan and us in the secular world is extremely thin. If you say it counts, then it counts. If you say it doesn't count, then it doesn't count either. This isn't too big of a problem. Clan Master Yu thought for a while, then asked, you just said that he has some ability? What can he do? Yu Dongsheng saw that old Master Yu did not resist and was instead interested. He quickly continued, although he is in the secular world, his bloodline is definitely not that good. However, he seems to have cultivated an evil mental cultivation method. I don't know if it's because he is talented or because his mental cultivation method is outstanding, but his cultivation speed is very fast. I heard that his current cultivation level is extremely high, almost reaching the venerable realm. What? How could this be? How can someone from the secular world become a venerable one? Before old Master Yu could say anything, Yu Manchuan frowned and spoke first. Yu Dongsheng rubbed his nose and answered awkwardly, I didn't say that he's already a venerable one, I only heard that he's close to one. Yu Manchuan snorted from his nostrils, as if he was very disdainful of the Yu clan's branch family. With a calm face, he said, Dongsheng, don't talk nonsense. The Yu clan's branch in the secular world were all trash. Apart from indulging in debauchery and indulging in a life of luxury, what else could they do? They're all a bunch of people who don't know how to improve, so how can they become venerable realm experts? Where did you get this information from? These are all reports from my spies. I didn't see it with my own eyes, so I don't dare to casually. Yu Dongsheng only managed to explain half a sentence before he was interrupted by Yu Manchuan. Do you even need to see it with your own eyes? Yu Manchuan laughed coldly, mercilessly rejecting Yu Dongsheng's suggestion. Those cultivators in the secular world are all trash. Their mental cultivation methods are not even worth mentioning. How can we let these kinds of people replace the Yu clan to go to the cultivation world? If the other two clans and Qi Tian sect knew about this, where would our Yu clan's face go? This method is definitely not feasible. Wait, Manchuan, don't rush to a conclusion. Clan Master Yu knocked on the table a few times, interrupting the agitated Yu Manchuan. He turned to Yu Dongsheng and asked solemnly, Dongsheng, let's not talk about this person's cultivation for now. I just want to ask you, can you guarantee that you can control him and make him serve our Yu clan wholeheartedly? Grandfather, this shouldn't be a problem. When the time comes, I'll just tell him a lie and say that the leader of the martial world, Qi Tian sect, has opened a trial for him. All disciples of the clan, regardless of their background, can participate. Yu Dongsheng scratched his chin and said after pondering for a while. Oh, then we'll report his name to elder son of Qi Tian's sect and conveniently hide his identity as a loose cultivator from the secular world? Clan Master Yu stroked his white beard and said thoughtfully. Yu Dongsheng nodded excitedly and smiled evilly. Anyway, his surname is Yu. When the time comes, everyone will be busy entering the cultivation world. Who will remember to investigate his background? Who knows if he's from the secular world or the inner martial world? Yu Manchuan was very dissatisfied with Yu Dongsheng's idea and asked, this method of yours sounds perfect, but there's a fatal flaw. What if that brat refuses to come? Have you prepared any other countermeasure? Father, don't worry, he definitely won't. Since he's so obsessed with cultivation, he will definitely thirst for even more power. Yu Dongsheng seemed to have already expected this question from his father. He raised his eyebrows proudly and said frankly with assurance, since he's already infinitely close to becoming a revered warrior, and now that there's a ready-made opportunity in front of him, if he doesn't go, he'll really be a fool. Clan Master Yu went through the entire plan again and did not find any problems. Finally, he nodded his head in satisfaction. Chapter 1303. Master Yu solemnly said to Yu Dongsheng, "All right, Dongsheng, I'll leave this matter to you. Remember, you must not let that brat speak carelessly. Wait until we reach the awakening heaven gate, just follow the instructions and don't even think about getting involved blindly. Otherwise, our Yu clan will definitely not let him off easily, and similarly, we will not let the Yu clan of the secular world off." "Yes, Grandpa. I'll definitely do it," Yu Dongsheng immediately promised. "Father, I feel that if we do this..." Yu Manchuan still wanted to object, but family head Yu waved his hand, stopping him from saying anything else. He said bluntly, "You don't have to say anything more, I have already decided to let that brat participate in the recruitment. As for the other issues, we will discuss them when he comes back alive." After saying that, Master Yu stood up and announced that the meeting was over. He didn't want to bother with the hesitant Yu Manchuan and left the meeting room. Yu Dongsheng was also full of joy. It was rare for his proposal to be approved by his grandpa. He quickly said goodbye to Yu Manchuan and ran out of the door to order his subordinates to do what they needed to do. 3 days later, the people of the major sects and clans gradually gathered in Awakening Heaven Gate. The originally spacious and vast land occupied by the sect also felt crowded because more and more people gathered together. At this time, Shao Qin had already received the list of people from the 3 clans sent by Elder Sunday. He was looking through the list with Miss Xing in the sect master's room. When Shao Qin saw the candidates from the Tang clan and the Jia clan, he couldn't help but smile. Although the former didn't send Tang Qianling, but played a little trick and sent Tang Tang, which was a bit of a pity, Jia Muzan was smart enough to get Jia Tuyao. In fact, Shao Qin didn't know that Jia Tuyao was sent here by his father, Jia Yudo, which solved the problem of Jia Muzan having no one to send. But when Shao Chen's eyes fell on the list of people provided by the Yu clan, he was stunned. The name Yu Shaochuan was written on the list. Why is Yu Shaochuan here? Wasn't he free and unfettered in the secular world? Shao Qin was puzzled for a while, before he gradually guessed the Yu clan master's intentions. He couldn't help but click his tongue. He never thought that the Yu clan, one of the 3 great clans, would actually be so cowardly. They had come here in such a roundabout way to send Yu Shaokun, who was completely unrelated to them. It was obvious that they wanted him to be the cannon fodder in the front. However, after careful consideration, Shao Qin still chose Yu Shaochuan. Although he did not know what his current cultivation was, after entering the world of cultivation, with his protection, there would basically be no problems. It was rare to have an acquaintance that he had not seen for a long time, so it was good to bring him along. After looking through the list of the 3 great clans, Shishan Jinyunyu and Song Weizong came in at the same time. However, their expressions were not very good. Clearly, they had already quarreled outside. The giant ox of the Western Mountain walked rather quickly. It strode to the front of Shao Chen and handed over the name list of the members of the ghost cultivation sect that had gone through layers of screening and assessment. Song Weizong was a step too late. He could only snort lightly and stand at the side with the name list, resentfully waiting. Shao Chen took the name list from the giant ox of the Western Mountain and glanced through it. His expression was originally very calm, but when he saw the last few names on the list, his expression suddenly became very surprised. He seemed to be a little surprised. Immortal Shao, is there a problem with the ghost cultivation sect's candidate? Seeing that Shao Chen was staring at a certain place on the name list of the ghost cultivation sect and frowning without saying anything, the giant ox of the Western Mountains' expression changed slightly. It tilted its head to take a look, but did not find anything wrong. It could not help but ask in puzzlement. "I really have a question to ask you." Shao Chen pointed to the name at the bottom of the name list and asked in an unfriendly tone, "Why did you cross out the names of the people at the bottom?" Only then did the giant ox of the Western Mountain understand where Shao Chen's question was. It hurriedly said with a smile, "Immortal Shao, I'm really sorry." Because the selection of the candidates this time was decided after a batch of assessments and competitions, those who were crossed out below are those who failed to be selected. I came here in a hurry to hand over the materials to you, so I did not have time to write a clean name list. I have made a fool of myself in front of you. Xiao Chen waved his hand impatiently and asked with a sullen face, cut the crap. I just want to ask you, Nye Xiaoyu and the old ghost of the Western Mountain are cultivators. Are they not qualified to go to the world of cultivation? Why did you cross them out? You'd better give me a reasonable explanation. Well. The giant ox of the Western Mountain scratched its head. Although it was a little puzzled why Xiao Chen cared so much about these two people, it still explained respectfully, because the strength of some evil cultivators and cultivators is really too low, and there is nothing special about them. Even if they are selected to go to the world of cultivation, they will only cause us trouble and will not help us at all. So I simply disqualified them. Oh, I think these two people are quite suitable. Xiao Chen curled his lips and directly picked up the pen to fill in the names of Nye Xiaoyu and the old ghost of the Western Mountain. Then, he crossed out the names of the other two passers-by. He released a trace of spiritual power to the giant ox of the Western Mountain and said lightly, "Then let's make a happy decision. Do you have any objections?" "No, of course, no problem. Everything is decided by immortal Shao." The giant ox of the Western Mountain nodded blankly. Soon, its whole body trembled. It was a little puzzled by its own actions just now. What was going on? Why did it agree with Xiao Chen's decision for no reason? In fact, the giant ox of the Western Mountain didn't know that its consciousness was controlled by Xiao Chen's spiritual power just now. Although it was only a few seconds, it was enough to affect its brain and make some wrong judgments. Moreover, with the strength of Xiao Chen at the mysterious ascending stage, the giant ox of the Western Mountain would never be able to discover his little tricks. It would only feel that its thoughts were a little strange. Oh, then it's okay. I'll look at the candidates on the side of the immortal cultivation sect. Xiao Chen put away his spiritual power, stuffed the list of the ghost cultivation sect into the hands of the giant ox of the Western Mountain, and turned to take the list from Song Weizong's hand. In Xiao Chen's view, although the strength of Nye Xiaoyu and the old ghost of the Western Mountain was indeed not high, they had helped him a lot, and he owed them a favor. There was a lack of suitable places for them to cultivate in the secular world. The immortal cultivation world was probably full of spiritual energy, which could be used by them. It was understandable that Xiao Chen planned to take them into the immortal cultivation world to improve their cultivation. Holding the altered list of the ghost cultivation sect members, the giant ox of the Western Mountain retreated to the side in confusion. It was still thinking in its mind. What happened just now? Why did it agree so easily? You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.